ends. Since the U.S. occupation, the Iraqi government has had to face the reality that Kurdistan could try to secede at any moment. Throughout the war against the Islamic State, Kurdistan has just been growing, making this a bigger and bigger concern.
Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? Then you need Spendabit in your arsenal, the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spendabit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Visit spendabit.co today. Bitcoin merchants, ask about our merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.co.
UPI reports a bus with an unlicensed driver spun out of control near New Orleans on Sunday, killing 2 people and injuring 41 while taking volunteers to help with flood relief in Louisiana. Spencer Chauvin, St. John the Baptist Fire District Chief, was among those killed in the early morning crash after the chartered bus slammed into him as he was trying to help victims of another accident, according to Louisiana State Police spokeswoman Melissa Mady. 2 other firefighters were injured in the crash, one critically, and a passenger in another vehicle struck by the bus died at the scene, according to the spokeswoman. Mady said the driver, who was unauthorized to drive a commercial vehicle, was in custody and would be booked on suspicion of negligent homicide, reckless driving, and driving without a license. Mady said the firefighters and state police troopers were on the scene to investigate when the bus, also out of control, slammed into the fire truck and a Toyota Camry. A passenger in the Camry was pronounced dead at the scene. The incident started when a speeding pickup truck spun out of control, bouncing from one side of the road to the other before coming to rest along the right lane and shoulder of Interstate 10 near the community of La Place, about 25 miles northwest of New Orleans. The Acadian Ambulance Service said on Twitter it had taken 38 people to hospitals and that a second ambulance company had transported 3 to a hospital.
For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports Native Americans from reservations across the United States joined the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's protest against an 1,100-mile, $3.8 billion four-state oil pipeline. Opponents of the pipeline say it could disturb sacred sites and impact drinking water for 8,000 tribal members and millions further downstream. The protest began August 10th when ground was broken near the reservation. 15 people from the Kialagi tribal town in Oklahoma were taking supplies to the protesters. One protester told Tulsa Media, "We just want to be there to support their tribe." Food and water was collected for those sleeping in tents and teepees. Protesters and their supporters are concerned that if the pipeline were to leak, it could contaminate their drinking water and force people to move from their lands. Representatives from Amnesty International have arrived to monitor the response of law enforcement to the protesters. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
The Surgeon General warns teens the cinnamon challenge is not for pussies. Taylor Swift is now dating the Watertown boat, and a middle-aged funeral director buys a flashy red hearse. We pity your pathetic dependence on this for your weekly news, but here we go anyway. This is the Onion Week in Review. A study released this week by the National Institutes of Health confirmed that for the 25th straight year, wolf attacks remain the leading cause of death in the United States. The Human Health Agency's findings confirmed that being viciously killed by a ravenous wolf claimed the lives of over 800,000 Americans last year alone, with researchers adding that one person in the United States dies every 40 seconds from a violent wolf attack.
The mortality rate associated with wolf attacks vastly outstrips the death tolls of cancer, stroke, and chronic respiratory disease. People should know that anyone... Oh, Jesus,
no. This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us here on the radio waves. You can bring up anything that happens to be on your mind The toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. We're going to be talking about some bad cops here in moments. There are always plenty of stories out there in the media about bad cops doing naughty things and outrageous things. We'll get into that here. Also with you in studio tonight, it's Ian.
Melanie.
And Daryl.
And, of course, you can join us on Skype at Skype, username LRN.FM. So feel free to take control of the airwaves. You can bring up anything that you'd like. To start out tonight, Daryl, you and I both had the same news story. We all independently sort of collect our own show prep, stuff that we want to talk about on the radio. And you and I happen to choose the same story, Daryl. It's usually an indicator that we should talk about it.
Yes.
The story here is from photographyisnotacrime.com, one of my favorite websites on the internet. Carlos Miller is the heroic founder of that site. It has expanded to really just cover the full gamut of police abuse all across the United States. It was 2012 when Indiana police entered a home without a warrant and shook awake a sleeping 18-year-old high school student, punching him 6 times, then tasering him before dragging him outside and stuffing him into a patrol car. Handcuffed in the back of the car, Deshaun Franklin demanded to know what he had done wrong.
You were inside the house when we came in, so therefore...
South Bend police officer told him he had matched the description of a man they were looking for. Specifically, he had the same hairstyle, dreadlocks. Franklin argued that dreadlocks were a popular hairstyle among young black men and that he had not broken any law.
Well, you look like somebody that did. Be lucky we didn't kill you.
Franklin said it was only then that it dawned on the police that they had arrested the wrong man, so they released him from the car and apologized.
Oh, at least they apologized.
That's pretty rare, actually.
That's very rare.
Yeah, I've got another story about police apologizing to somebody. It's pretty unusual when that happens.
I'm still waiting on an apology 4 years later from the local code enforcer and the fire captain guy.
Yeah, they said they weren't going to do that.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's not serious enough for them to apologize for. It has to be like something completely atrocious for them to even think it deserves consideration.
Well, it was pretty atrocious to be woken from a dead sleep at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Well, no, I'm saying that this one was, whereas Daryl's, according to them, probably not so much.
Well, I understand.
Right, because the code enforcer said everybody should be awake at 8 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter that you work a late second, almost third shift.
You'd just gone to sleep at 4 a.m.
I'd gone to sleep at like 6 a.m. I got home from work at 4 a.m.
Right. And they came into your bedroom, and thankfully they didn't punch you in the face 6 times.
Yeah.
But you did get woken up, and that's unpleasant. When strange people come into your room, Melanie, you actually live in the same room right now that Daryl was in at the time that this happened. So, just imagine having an agent of the state just waltz right on into your room.
My hope at that point would be that I immediately recognize them as an agent of the state,
Rather
because that
than
would
shooting them?
severely, change my plan.
Because, if you shoot the cops, you'll probably end up dead, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Because you might shoot someone who's not a cop breaking into your room?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, because that's just not safe.
Right.
It's not safe if a cop does it either, obviously, but defending yourself isn't safe either, so...
Franklin argued again that dreadlocks were popular, and the police apologized. In fact, the man they were looking for was Franklin's brother, Dan Franklin, who was suspected of domestic abuse. But to this day, Dan Franklin has not been arrested or charged with that crime.
So 4 years later,
the younger brother filed a lawsuit over the incident and, after rejecting several settlements, insisted on taking the case to trial. Earlier this month, the federal jury sided with him, determining that the police did indeed violate his Fourth Amendment rights by entering his home without a warrant and wrongfully arresting him. I mean, yeah, that's pretty clear. You're supposed to have a warrant that is issued specifically describing the place to be searched and the things for which the police are searching.
Right.
In this case, a human being with a specific, identity.
Yes.
The fact that they didn't have a warrant is a clear violation, but the jury decided those violations were only worth $1 US in damages. Yes, $1 for each constitutional violation, which ended up totaling $18 whole, paid by the 3 officers to Franklin and his 2 parents who were inside of the home that night on July 7th, 2012.
Well, at least the money came from the officers instead of, the police department just
And the
writing
taxpayers.
a check.
Well, I mean, it was a really low amount. They can just grab that from the evidence room.
Or the next black guy they beat up on the streets.
Well, yeah, that's where it comes from. They go into the evidence room.
Right. The city of South Bend also insists that the Franklin family pay $1,500 in legal expenses, which includes hotel room and mileage for the officers because the trial was held in another city.
This is the part that I want your response to. So the jury awards this guy $18, and then the city says, but you have to pay our legal expenses because we violated your rights.
Okay, that is because you want my, legal opinion or my, moral opinion?
Yes.
Okay, so that is because he rejected the settlement. In most states, if you reject a settlement and then go to trial and your award ends up being a certain percentage less than the settlement offer, then they make you pay the attorney's fees for the opposing side.
Wow.
To deter you from going to trial.
So
I
settlement.
thought, most places now we're going to something called loser pays, to where it's the loser that has to pay people's legal fees, not the person that rejected, oh, we promise that we won't rape you the next time we break into your house. Shut up, go away.
Well,
no,
but then that
I
would
want
be-
something more.
Well, but that would be-
okay, here's $18. Now give us $1,500 for legal expenses.
Okay, well, in that case, then the settlement that if that even counts as a settlement offer somehow, then there will be a settlement offer of $0, and so then those kinds of statutes wouldn't apply. And I'm not familiar with Indiana Code of Civil Procedure. And that would be a really weird thing to apply to civil rights cases specifically. But in general civil cases, if there on either side, if you reject an offer and you get awarded less than a certain percentage, or if you reject an offer from the other side and you have to pay more than a certain percentage, they will do that to deter you from going to trial. Now, how it's constitutional to actively deter you from
Well, they
seeking
can
out
they
parts
can
of the
try to deter you from anything. Here in New Hampshire, they claim. What's the claim? Ian, you challenged this before about the access to justice shall be free, but yet. Oh, you want to take something to the Supreme Court? You got to pay us a couple $100 and then pay thousands of dollars for transcripts and all of this other stuff. But yes, your access is free.
If I was a private company charging that much per page, I would be held under some kind of violation for some kind of usury or antitrust
Sure,
law.
but it's not usury when they do it.
Right.
That's interesting. I didn't know that about civil cases. So if they make an offer to you saying, "Look, let's not go to trial. Here's what we're going to offer you. We're going to offer you $100,000," and he says, "Nope, we're going to trial," and then they get the jury off, only gives him $10, then he has to pay the attorney's fees. That's what you're saying.
And that varies by state of what the specifics of that are, but that's common.
Wow. Okay.
That's absolutely ridiculous, and it seems very much like this whole plea deal thing of we'll offer you pleas and then we'll punish you if you don't take any of them.
Very much. That's what happened to me. That's what happened to Rich Paul.
And obviously jail time is more serious, but that's even worse than how they do plea deals, because if you say, no, I'm going to trial, and then you come back with a sentence higher than the plea they offered you, they don't add on years because you rejected the plea of lower years.
I think they do, actually. I think they do add time on because
They just
you
don't
reject the
Well,
plea.
they
state
don't.
It's not an
They
official.
don't penalize you a percentage for.
Hold on. It's not an official policy, but it sure as hell seems like that's what they do.
Yeah, they
did it to
definitely
me.
punish you for going
They did
to
it to
trial,
Rich
but-
Paul. 855-450 free. You can join us here. Share your thoughts on Bad Cops. Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solark EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solark is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solark is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solark beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solark is energy insurance for your family.
Frustrated with his increased workload and a litany of interpersonal problems, CLG software project manager William Garston brought a list of grievances Thursday to his supervisor Todd Watkins, an utterly powerless office functionary with no actual ability to resolve any problems.
Oh, no. I'm really glad that you're bringing this to me. This is great.
The 15-minute interaction, which was taken seriously by both parties, involved Garston laying out a series of work-related issues he's had recently, absolutely none of which Watkins has even the slightest authority to address.
Again, I'm sorry to be bothering you with all this stuff, Todd. I've reached a point where I was not under the...
This is important. We're going to sort all this out.
Sources added that throughout the conversation, Watkins continually nodded his head and repeatedly assured Garston that his problems would be considered a top priority, despite the fact that he lacked the necessary clout to foster any change whatsoever within the company.
This is the Onion News Network.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Monday, gold is up $4 at $1,321 per ounce, and silver is about even at $18.68 per ounce. Bitcoin is currently trading at $574 US. Roberts & Roberts Brokerage have been helping customers buying and selling precious metals for nearly 40 years. To find out how we can help you, give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. Skype username is LRN.FM. Coming up, counterfeiting, not dollars, but products. Apparently, it's getting better than it ever has been, according to the CEO of the Alibaba Group. With you in studio tonight, it's Ian,
Melanie,
and Daryl.
Also, if you've got Bitcoin, I want you to download the official wallet of Free Talk Live. It's called Jaxx, and you can get it over at jaxx.io. It's also available through your Apple or Google App Store, and there's no wallet like it. It can hold Bitcoin, Ether, as well as Dash, and more currencies are coming. There's a Shapeshift integration that means you can change from one crypto to another. So if you've got some Bitcoin, but you want to turn some of it into Ether, You don't even have to leave your wallet if you have Jaxx. JAXX.io. It was created by Anthony D'Orio. He's one of the founders of Ethereum and a Free Talk Live listener. It's easy to back up your wallet and recover funds with Jaxx. Jaxx is striving to give you command over your digital life, coins, contracts, currencies, identity, and more. Your digital command center in the palm of your hand. It's Jaxx, and it's cross-platform. So if you want it for your smartphone, your laptop, Windows, Mac, Linux, browser plugins, they've got them. Jaxx.io. It's the official wallet of Free Talk Live. JAXX.io. As we continue here, we're sharing with you a story, another outrageous story from photographyisnotacrime.com, that a young man who was beaten by police as they broke into his home while he was sleeping. He's 18 years old, still in high school. Punched by the cops 6 times, tasered, then dragged outside, stuffed into a patrol car. Turns
because
out
he looked like his brother.
Right, because he had dreadlocks, specifically what the police told him. But turns out it was the brother they were looking for, and so they apologized, cut him loose, and then he decided that he was going to take them to court. Well, the jury awarded him $1 in damages per constitutional violation. So he got $18 from the police officers in this case, which means that they violated the Constitution 18 times. Now, that means, apparently, according to Melanie, who's legally trained, she went to law school down in Louisiana. That means, apparently, that in a civil case, if you reject an offer, so apparently there were a couple offers made before this went to trial. If you reject those offers and then the amount that's awarded by the jury is significantly less than that offer, then you have to pay for the attorney's fees or legal expenses, and apparently including the hotel room and the mileage for the officers.
And it's usually not including like their vacation. It's usually just attorney's fees.
Well, this is only $1,500 in legal expenses, so it's hard to imagine that's anybody's attorney, because that would be like 2 hours worth of, a few hours worth of work for an attorney.
Well, it's probably the city attorney that's getting paid a salary anyway, whether he's defending the police after they punch some guy in the face 6 times, or if he's just sitting there shuffling papers of, oh, well, we got to expand the airport and somebody needs to sign off on these documents.
Now, here's a question for you, Melanie. What is a pastoral counselor?
I don't know.
I mean, pastoral sounds religious, right?
It does.
Mario Sims is a pastoral counselor for the Franklin family. Believes the lowly sum is the jury's way of saying they support the police, even when the evidence shows they violated a family's civil rights.
Okay, well, I'm thinking that might not mean counselor as attorney. That might just mean like
a religious
counseling.
counselor.
Yeah.
Okay. He said further to WNDU, quote, now somewhere between supporting the police officers and the Constitution, they forgot that there's a family whose constitutional rights were violated. The message you're sending them by awarding them a nominal award of $1 is essentially, so what? So what if sworn police officers broke into your home and punched your son and tased him? So, unquote. So what went wrong? Peter Agostino, the attorney who represented the city, blames the family's attorney, Johnny Ulmer, for doing a poor job representing them. Ulmer, who spent 20 years as a sheriff's deputy, took the case pro bono. According to the Indianapolis Star-Tribune, quote, the family filed a civil suit in February of 2013 accusing the officers of excessive force, unlawful entry, false imprisonment, false arrest, and battery. Johnny Ulmer, that attorney for the family, who spent 20 years as a sheriff's deputy, took the case. City hired Peter Agostino, an attorney who has represented plaintiffs and defendants in federal civil rights cases for nearly 30 years, to represent the officers who are still employed by the South Bend Police Department. Agostino said the city made 4 settlement offers to the Franklin family. The family said they were offered $15,000 to settle. Agostino said higher amounts were offered, but declined to say how much higher. The family opted for trial instead, and the jury, 1 African-American and 5 white individuals, reached its verdict on August 1st. Agostino called Deshaun Franklin, quote, an outstanding young man, unquote, and acknowledged that some compensation was warranted. During trial, though, Agostino said the plaintiffs failed to prove damages beyond the rights violations. For example, no wages were lost or medical bills incurred. Agostino said Deshaun and his family were not served well by their attorney, who should have told them to take the settlement. So can you imagine? Okay, fine. He didn't have to go to the hospital after he got punched 6 times by the police.
Or he did, and he just couldn't afford to, because those are two different things, too.
That's a good point. And was tased and then dragged out of the into the streets. If we did that to somebody, if we decided that somebody had hurt our friend and we were going to go and, enact some revenge on that person, whether or not we got the person right or wrong, like whether we found the right victim or the wrong victim, private people attacking another individual, punching them 6 times and then tasing them would be a serious felony assault charge.
If I did this, I would be charged with no less than 1, possibly 6 counts of simple assault, unlawful imprisonment, kidnapping.
That's got to be a
false
felony.
Imprisonment.
Well, you'd be charged with aggravated assault, and you'd be charged with whatever the second-degree version of assault is.
Right, and possibly more than 1 charge of either or both of those. So I would be looking at serious jail time if I decided to do this.
And even just on the money damages, like, A, if they sued you, you'd be shelling out more than $18. And B, you would probably, at your conviction for your criminal trial, be ordered some kind of restitution. The family wouldn't even probably have to sue you. The judge in the criminal case would do that on his own if that state allowed that, and a lot of states do.
Right. Instead, these cops get to walk away scot-free. They get to keep their jobs, and all they have to do is pay $18 to be able to beat somebody up.
And they don't actually have to pay $18. What did you say? It was $15,000 they were awarded, so $15,000.
Oh no, $1,500 went to likely the city. I'm not
the
sure.
city requested $1,500 for legal expenses and hotel for the police officers because the trial was in a different city. We don't want to have the trial in South Bend, so change of venue and now put everybody up at the Ritz-Carlton in whatever city. The last paragraph here of this article, a city spokesman told the newspaper he understands the family's frustration, but points out that the officers were disciplined. They have something on their permanent record and had to undergo Fourth Amendment rights training.
They were given written reprimands.
That's on your permanent record, sir.
Is that what that means? I thought that just means a memo went out. Oh, you bad boys.
There's probably a copy in their employee file.
Don't you do that again. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Next time, you might have to pay $20. It's Free Talk Live.
There is an affordable alternative to the high cost of healthcare that offers freedom from insurance while providing compliance with the Obamacare individual mandate. Imagine having access to quality, affordable healthcare that allows you the freedom to choose your doctor and hospital. Members can share up to 100% of necessary medical expenses, including some alternative treatments. Find out how you and your family can contain healthcare costs without giving up your freedom. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can dial up toll-free to join us here at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Ian.
Melanie.
And Daryl.
Also, did you hear about the debate offer? Bernie Sanders has been offered $250,000 worth of Bitcoin that will go to the charity of his choice if he agrees to show up and debate Adam Kokesh. Adam Kokesh, of course, is a somewhat well-known voluntarist. He's a liberty-loving guy, and I think it would be a fascinating debate if Bernie would actually agree to it. Socialism versus voluntarism. And Bernie gets to choose the objective moderator and the city in which the debate happens. But so far, he hasn't responded to the offer, and the offer's been on the table for a few months now, maybe several months. I feel like we've been talking about this for quite a while.
Yeah, since I would say close to the beginning of the year.
The offer, yeah, I think you're right about that. The offer was originally $50,000 that would go to a charity of Bernie's choice, but since then, Roger Ver, who's the money man here, has decided to quintuple the offer, and still, that has yet to actually attract Bernie's attention. They have not even been given a no. It's just been ignored. So if you want to learn more about this debate challenge, you can go to bernie.freetalklive.com. I believe the offer for the $250,000 ends at the end of this month. That's what I've heard.
That's my understanding.
bernie.freetalklive.com. As we continue here, more bad police-related stories. Melanie, you had a follow-up on an outrageous police beating that happened here in New Hampshire, which it's not too common that police beatings will at least happen here, and certainly that they get caught on video. This one did. It was caught on video, I believe, by news helicopters after a car chase that started in Massachusetts ended in Nashua, New Hampshire, with multiple police attacking the suspect. Now, apparently there was a suit. You've got an update on that case. Did you want to share that with us?
Well, it wasn't a suit. It was a plea deal, basically, for the...
There were criminal charges
against the officer.
Against the officer, which is kind of amazing that they actually charged him with, I think, assault, but they charged him with whatever they charge people with when you beat somebody up.
Was it just one guy? I gotta say, I didn't watch the video multiple times, so I don't have a clear recollection of I know there were more than one officer there. I just don't know if there was more than one that was actually doing the punching.
I didn't watch the video, and the reason why I didn't watch the video was because I didn't care if it was excessive or not, because the traffic stop was excessive as far as I'm concerned, because traffic stops are death threats, and the only thing they were conducting the traffic stop or chasing him because he had a warrant, and he had a warrant for trying to hit a cop with a car, which
the cops love to claim that, by the way. They love to claim somebody's trying to run them down. When
but that's
in point
not
of fact,
even. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and I know that you both disagree with me. That's a victimless crime. It's not a good idea.
Wait.
You shouldn't do it.
Are you saying running a cop over is a victimless crime?
Yes.
I don't. Yeah. Okay. I will disagree with you on that.
Yeah. So do I.
You shouldn't do it. It's a bad plan.
The cop's a human being. I mean, they're making a mistake.
People who break into your bedroom and start shooting at you at 2 o'clock in the
Sure,
morning are human beings too.
No doubt. And if somebody's shooting at you, you have a right to try to run them over.
What if they're threatening to shoot you?
Yeah, I think you would have a right to try to run them over in that case too.
Okay, hold on. Melanie, we're speaking to Ian here, and I feel that I need to give you some background on what happened to Ian one time, probably about 2 years ago, I think it was, at about 3:30 in the morning. Ian walks downstairs, and he hears some music. And he looks in the studio, and there's some guy like sitting where Ian is currently sitting, listening to rap songs on YouTube.
No, it's not exactly how the story went.
Well,
they keep telling it, and I'll correct you.
And then Ian begins talking to the guy, and the guy stands up just behind where you're seated, and they chat for, what was it, an hour or so before you told the guy, well, have a good day, and you saw him out of the studio.
That wasn't entirely what had happened. I did hear something, and I was like upstairs and kind of looking down, and then the dude actually came out of the studio on his own. So I had not come down the stairs yet.
Oh, okay. You were not completely down the stairs
at that point. And I engaged him in a conversation, and we,
that went somewhere between half hour to an hour.
I don't recall how long that it was. It probably was on the shorter side of that. But engaged him in a conversation, and it was just like a drunk kid who had wanted to come into the Free Staters house, and he had proceeded to drink wine while in the studio and watching YouTube videos.
Okay, well, I'm not sure how that's relevant to.
I think he's bringing it up because I didn't blast the kid.
Right,
I think
and in that situation,
right, so,
I depending on the details of how aggressive I thought he looked and, whether or not I thought he could take him, I really don't think I'm leaning towards I would not have offed that guy.
You don't think you... Hold on. Wait. Oh, there was too many double negatives in there. You don't think you were leaning towards you would not have offed the guy?
That guy, I think I would have said, get out.
Depending
there you
on...
go. Right, but there are some people that'd be like, nope, strange guy in my house, I'll kill him,
and
it depends.
Not
going to ask
questions.
Because
there's too many variables there.
Right, if he rushes at you up the stairs, that's another story.
Right, this particular room is like, I understand it's still a part of your house, but it's like kind of... I almost want to say quasi-public. It's not public. You can't just walk in here.
Right.
But it's not necessarily the same as just some dude walking into your living room or a bedroom if you're like a private person. And obviously still trespassing, but
it is the same.
We're all public figures because we're on a nationally syndicated radio show. People can't just walk into my bedroom and be like,
your house.
hey,
yes,
you're a public figure, so therefore public property.
I understand that, but... It's obviously clearly trespassing, but I think that there is like at least a feels difference, if not a logic difference, between walking into a studio and walking into a living room. Especially
it's
to
a studio in
teenager.
A living room.
Right. And I'm not defending him in any way. He was clearly wrong. Also,
you're just saying in that case you wouldn't kill him, but 8-year-old girl jumping on the flowers, totally okay to offer?
I would not kill her either.
He was
also,
afraid, by the way, just so you know. He was grateful that I did not blast him.
Right, yeah.
And
also, there's a difference between whether or not it's a NAP violation to kill him versus whether or not it's a decent thing to do to kill him versus whether or not I would have killed him.
Right.
So
NAP being the non-aggression
principle, because it's the non-aggression principle, not the non-things Melanie doesn't like principle. So you would have been well within your rights under the NAP
I would have been.
to off him.
And there are some people that would say you are obligated to wind
Ridiculous.
up using defensive force.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
because otherwise you're a pacifist.
Not in the name of yourself, you're not. No, that's ridiculous.
Well, in this case, I wasn't threatened in any way, shape, or form. It was just some drunk guy stumbling out of the studio. He looks up, he sees me. I forget what I said. It was like, hey, how's it going? Or something like that. It was some lighthearted conversation. Anyway, we're now friends on Facebook, and I see him in real life here and there around town.
But like he clearly
Of course,
violated the
Ian
NAP,
is
so
the one that befriends the home intruder.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ian would do that. But
he's just a messed up young guy. You know, he's
how
running.
many people who stole flags are you friends with on Facebook?
I don't know most of the people who stole the peace flags.
But of the people that you know, so like there were a couple of people.
There were a couple that the Keene
showed
police
up.
caught.
Hey, I'm sorry.
Right.
Here's 2 flags that I bought.
No, I'm not friends with either of them. One of them is from North Carolina or was going to college in North Carolina and had gone back to North Carolina. By the time I was able to get compensation from him, he shipped me 2 new flags from Amazon to make good. And the other guy I didn't get a chance to meet. He met with Rich Paul and had a conversation. Rich Paul smoked him out.
Okay, and it is also for well then Rich Paul is showing you up because Rich Paul is friends with one of the flag thieves on Facebook.
Yeah, well, that was probably the guy he smoked out with. Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And I would have joined him had I been home. I was doing something at that time. Anyway, you can join us here. For some reason, we'll get back into the issue of the guy that actually did get beaten up by the police and what we were going to say about that here in moments. 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live.
I'm Governor Gary Johnson. Like 60% of you, I'm not impressed by the two-party system. It's a dinosaur. It's outmoded and no longer reflects today's America. Two-party politics doesn't work, and it hasn't worked for anybody but itself in decades. If we the people are wise, we will never again elect another president from within the entrenched, corrupt, co-opted two-party system. The office of president should serve the needs of everyone equally with respect and with fairness. I did it as governor, I'll do it as president. Google me. 60% of you have said you want another choice in 2016, and now you have one in me. We the people have a chance to do something in 2016 that may not come around again in our lifetimes. We have a legitimate chance to elect one of our own to the highest office in the land. Give me your vote one time and see what a difference one election can make.
Our best America yet. Johnson Weld, 2016.
Paid for by Gary Johnson, 2016.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business. So make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Dial toll free here, 855-450-FREE. And you can bring up anything that you want. 855-450-3733. The Skype username is LRN.FM. Coming up, counterfeit products better now than ever. In fact, the head of Alibaba's, the Alibaba Group, says that counterfeit products are getting better than the originals. We'll talk about that here in a few moments. It's Ian, Melanie, and Daryl in the studio. We've been talking about abusive police. And by the way, if you like Free Talk Live and you want to help support this show, one of the things you can do is shop with us at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com. You enter the Amazon links you'll find there, like Amazon UK, Canada, or US, and then just get your shopping taken care of. Free Talk Live will get a cut of the sale when you start your shopping through shop.freetalklive.com. Now, Melanie, where were we going with this story here about the New Hampshire cop who was charged criminally with
assault for beating the guy who they
he was running from
who led them on a chase? Yes.
Right. That's usually a bad idea. I mean, look, the cops have a lot of resources. There's a good chance they're going to catch you if you
right.
leave
Yeah,
the
and if it's you versus the state of New Hampshire or any state, you're going to lose. So
odds are good. Even if you lose them temporarily, they are going to redouble their efforts, and they will likely find you.
Absent extreme circumstances, the best plan is the same thing they tell you in a robbery to comply.
I would say the best plan would be to start a video camera recording and then do what they tell you if you have time for it.
Yeah, if you can do that.
Yeah. Or if you have a dash cam, then you should already have that rolling all the time.
Right. Yeah. So even regardless of whether you're right or wrong, it's still a bad idea to run from the cops, and it's still a bad idea to try to hit one with your car.
That said, it is, as you pointed out, refreshing that one officer in this case was actually charged with something, because most of the time, these cops get their adrenaline pumping. They beat on somebody because they know they can get away with it, and that's usually because they do get away with it. Usually there are no charges that are brought. They'll come up with some sort of excuse for why they did it, and the police department or the Internal Affairs Bureau will just say, yep, that's legit.
Right, yeah, so he pled guilty to 3 counts of simple assault.
And this was it a state police officer? I'm sorry, I missed that detail.
New Hampshire State Police.
Okay, got it.
So, what was interesting to me about this case, aside from the fact that I thought it was an excuse to talk about defensive force against state agents on the air, was that the judge is saying, according to this article at Mass Live anyway, the judge is saying that he has a suspended sentence of 1 year, and he's essentially going to be on probation for 2 years.
He being Andrew Monaco, the police
who is
officer.
the guy with the badge.
Suspended sentence.
Had a badge.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, he had a badge, yeah.
Suspended sentence for 1 year, was it? And then what was the other 2?
Probation for 2 years.
Okay.
So the conditions of his probation, among other things, is to undergo anger management, pay for the victim's medical expenses.
Okay, all right.
Give up his law enforcement certification and not seek a job in law enforcement again. Now,
That's a pretty, I mean, for a cop, that's a pretty decent punishment. Now, if you'd hit a cop, you'd likely end up getting a
were you
felony
to survive,
assault.
you would get a felony.
Right,
of some
felony
kind.
assault on a police officer
and you
charge.
would do jail time.
Yeah.
If you hit a regular civilian, you would probably do jail time.
But this sentence does sound like they were trying to send some sort of a message, like we're serious about making sure our officers are behaving themselves.
It's kind of like when that story came out about the judge who was selling kids to a private prison and he got like 10 days or something. That is like egregiously low, but it was like the first step of we're going to actually prosecute you if you're a slave driver or if you, in this case, pull people over and beat them.
Right.
But what is kind of concerning to me is that I think that people are going to read this and think that he can't be a cop again.
The judge did say he's not allowed to apply to be a police officer, though, right?
And
Yes,
he agreed to that as part
yes.
of the plea agreement.
Right. But he's only on paper for 2 years. Now, the state of New
when you
Hampshire
say
can
on
say
paper, you mean
probation.
Probation, okay.
So New Hampshire can say we're not going. New Hampshire can blacklist him. New Hampshire can say we're not hiring this guy. If New Hampshire wanted to, they could pass a state statute that says that no political subdivision is allowed to hire this guy.
Well, New Hampshire does have something that's akin to a blacklist. I think they call it Lori's list.
Yeah, or the Lori list.
But anything that is a condition of your probation, once your probation is over, you can do it again, assuming it's not like otherwise a crime.
But we don't know if this is part of the probation or part of the sentence that is completely separate from probation.
Yeah, it sounded like it was part of the sentence just based on what you read. But
they can't like.
But I think what you're trying to say, maybe a misunderstanding, but maybe what you're trying to say here is that if he were to go and apply in West Virginia or something like that, then the judge's ruling would not apply.
The New Hampshire judge cannot tell West Virginia not to hire him, and they also can't tell this guy. No, if the only reason it has any legal power at all is because he's on paper. So they can revoke his probation for violating probation. Other than that, they can't just randomly order somebody not to work in a particular field because it's
if
not
he's
illegal.
agreed to it, it's not in order. If what he said was,
it's still in order.
Here's the plea deal. You can take this plea deal, or we can go to trial. That's different. That's not a judge's order. That's a negotiation, right? That's an agreement that he's come to.
That's basically a negotiation between the prosecutor and this guy.
Okay, but you're talking more about like the morality of contracts, which don't apply in state. So there's no like he can go be a cop. New Hampshire might refuse to hire him as a cop. That's fine.
I agree with you. I'll agree with you that he can go to the other 49 states and be a cop. I would say that in New Hampshire, that's in question, whether or not he could ever be a police officer.
And if it is, it's because there's something in place to blacklist him. It's not because once these 2 years are up, then they'd have no more authority over him regarding this case.
But again, I think you're reading into it that was part of probation.
Okay,
I'm seeing it as a completely different part of the sentence.
I'm not saying that it's part of his probation. The only way it has any legal force is to make it part of his probation. So a judge can't just be like, okay, I order you to not work in a restaurant again. Like, there's no process to do that. No, if there's a process that the state police have or that applies to counties and cities and other jurisdictions to where they can block him from being hired, that's fine. But first of all, he's not even allowed to seek a job in law enforcement. So once these 2 years are up, if he goes and applies at a department, that's not illegal. There's nothing anybody can do about it.
So that wouldn't be contempt?
You're presuming that it's part of the probation. No, you keep saying after the 2 years of probation,
right,
if he
because
does
after
X.
the 2 years of probation, then they don't have authority over him anymore.
No, they pretty much do.
If he's agreed to this deal, then that would be a violation of his agreement.
It's akin to
that could be contempt.
People that get put on the sex offender registry. after they've served
they're
their
not on
sentence
probation.
and their probation, they still have to go register with the state for the rest of their life.
Well, yeah, because they're still on that.
Well, he would still be on
Right.
this.
And this part of his sentence of surrender your law enforcement certificate and never seek a job in law enforcement has nothing to do with his probation.
I
It's
gotta
a
agree with you.
different part of his sentence.
I mean, obviously, Melanie, you've got the legal training here, but I got to agree with you on this one, Daryl. That's what makes the most sense. Although I do agree that the other 49 states, this judge's ruling doesn't apply. So all he's got to do is go south, find some other state that's willing to hire somebody that beat somebody up, and that happens. Like, there's plenty of stories about bad cops who are told they can't have a job in this town, and then they just go to another town in the state, or in this case, another state in the country.
If he would somehow otherwise be in violating something here, if he goes and gets a job in Mass.
Yeah, he can do that. There's no way the judge would have any control.
Right, it'd be
over
like
him.
if the New Hampshire police suspend Ian's driving privileges. Unless Ian has a New Hampshire driver's license, that doesn't affect anywhere else. And we actually know Derek J. used to have either Pennsylvania or New Jersey driver's license. New Hampshire suspended his driving privileges, which just meant that if he got pulled over in New Hampshire, then there would be problems.
And aren't you suspended in South Carolina?
I basically have a no trespass order to the entire state of South Carolina. I've got a warrant. There's no suspension of anything.
The toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Coming up, counterfeit products apparently are better than they've ever been, according to the CEO of the Alibaba Group. Also, apparently the athletes from Zimbabwe have been ordered to be arrested because they didn't win enough medals. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. It's Free Talk Live.
Here's a good idea. When you have a legal matter like creating your will or legally setting up a business with a corporation or LLC, you don't necessarily need a law firm. Use LegalZoom.com. At LegalZoom.com, you answer straightforward questions online, and they take care of the rest. They even review your answers for common mistakes and guarantee your satisfaction. Free Talk Live listeners, you'll get 10% off your order by typing in FTL in the referral box at purchase. Don't procrastinate with these important legal documents. LegalZoom.com. Here's a good idea. When you have a legal matter like creating your will or legally setting up a business with a corporation or LLC, you don't necessarily need a law firm. Use LegalZoom.com. At LegalZoom.com, you answer straightforward questions online, and they take care of the rest. They even review your answers for common mistakes and guarantee your satisfaction. Free Talk Live listeners, you'll get 10% off your order by typing in FTL in the referral box at purchase. Don't procrastinate with these important legal documents. LegalZoom.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Monday, August 29th, 2016. Silver is trading at $18.59 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,319 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $579. Antiwar.com reports while all the same doubts about being able to take the massive city of Mosul away from a substantial the Islamic State defensive force are still in place, the constant push for tiny swaths of land by Iraqi military and the Kurdish Peshmerga has many believing that the push into the city itself is close. Whether that's actually the case or not, however, remains to be seen, and with the Iraqi government having recently sacked their defense minister adds dramatically to the idea that there simply is not the organization on the ground to carry out a protracted siege so far from their supply lines. A much bigger factor driving both sides to keep pushing into areas on the outskirts of Mosul is that the borders of Iraqi Kurdistan are very malleable, and Kurdish leaders make no bones about the idea that villages north of Mosul that they are taking over aren't just being liberated from the Islamic State, they're being effectively annexed into Kurdistan. This virtually obliges the Iraqi military to keep pushing into the area too, unprepared or not, to try to sack some strategically important targets for themselves, just to keep some of the valuable parts of Iraq's oil industry inside Iraq, since the reality is that anything annexed by Kurdistan may ultimately be lost to Kurdish secession as soon as the war ends. Since the U.S. occupation, the Iraqi government has had to face the reality that Kurdistan could try to secede at any moment. Throughout the war against the Islamic State, Kurdistan has just been growing, making this a bigger and bigger concern.
Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? Then you need Spendabit in your arsenal, the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spendabit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Visit spendabit.co today. Bitcoin merchants, ask about our merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.co.
UPI reports a bus with an unlicensed driver spun out of control near New Orleans on Sunday, killing 2 people and injuring 41 while taking volunteers to help with flood relief in Louisiana. Spencer John the Baptist Fire District Chief was among those killed in the early morning crash after the chartered bus slammed into him as he was trying to help victims of another accident, according to Louisiana State Police spokeswoman Melissa Mady. 2 other firefighters were injured in the crash, one critically, and a passenger in another vehicle struck by the bus died at the scene, according to the spokeswoman. Mady said the driver, who was unauthorized to drive a commercial vehicle, was in custody and would be booked on suspicion of negligent homicide, reckless driving, and driving without a license. Mady said the firefighters and state police troopers were on the scene to investigate when the bus, also out of control, slammed into the fire truck and a Toyota Camry. A passenger in the Camry was pronounced dead at the scene. The incident started when a speeding pickup truck spun out of control, bouncing from one side of the road to the other before coming to rest along the right lane and shoulder of Interstate 10 near the community of La Place, about 25 miles northwest of New Orleans. The Acadian Ambulance Service said on Twitter it had taken 38 people to hospitals and that a second ambulance company had transported 3 to a hospital.
For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co.
Reuters reports Native Americans from reservations across the United States joined the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's protest against an 1,100-mile, $3.8 billion four-state oil pipeline. Opponents of the pipeline say it could disturb sacred sites and impact drinking water for 8,000 tribal members and millions further downstream. The protest began August 10th when ground was broken near the reservation. 15 people from the Kialagi tribal town in Oklahoma were taking supplies to the protesters. One protester told Tulsa Media, "We just want to be there to support their tribe." Food and water was collected for those sleeping in tents and teepees. Protesters and their supporters are concerned that if the pipeline were to leak, it could contaminate their drinking water and force people to move from their lands. Representatives from Amnesty International have arrived to monitor the response of law enforcement to the protesters. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
And if you thought things couldn't get more infantile and aesthetically insulting than Fergie, Kesha, or Katy Perry, then you obviously haven't met 22-year-old Karonica, the latest and most horrid, talent-bereft pop monstrosity the music industry has ever sadistically forced down the American public's collective throat. She's here with us in the studio right now.
What?
Now tell us, Karonica, how did you first decide that you wanted to be the cipher through which the cynicism of a morally bankrupt industry is channeled?
Yo, I just do what I do. Know what I'm saying? It's like people just love my ish.
Right. You are in the middle of your sold-out Damn Girl tour.
Damn girl, that's right.
Which is a heinous slap in the face to the English language, and will also travel to 47 cities, sapping the intellects of every young person along the way.
I said, damn girl, that's right.
There's no light in your eyes, Karonica.
I got nothing to say to the haters.
I hate you.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, and of course you can join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Coming up here, Daryl, you just found a story that I also had in show prep about Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, the president and vice presidential candidates for the Libertarian Party. We can get into that here in a moment, but first, by the way, in studio with you, it is Ian here.
Melanie.
And Daryl.
Story from Financial Times, FT.com, who really has some interesting reporting sometimes, but I really don't like their website. They will let you go and visit a page or a story on their site, and then if you close the site and you try to go back there, they want you to pay to access, and it's just so annoying.
Paywall.
Yeah, it's so annoying. But it's an interesting piece about counterfeiting. You know, for a long time, businesses have been fighting counterfeiters from other countries, manufacturers who will create products that look a lot like the products that they're being advertised as.
Oh, so you're telling me that Polex watch that I bought in Chinatown is not a real Rolex?
No, that's not. It's not. And one of the reasons why they call it a Polex is because it looks like Rolex, but it's technically legally not because it's got a P. So if you just glance at it, you might think it's a Rolex. Very, very sneaky. And that's how they can legally sell that product in the United States. But, of course, a proper counterfeit good actually says Rolex on it, right?
Right. And then there's one thing that I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Louis Vuitton bags.
Yes, the LV logo. Mm-hmm.
Right. The counterfeits do not have the little L's and the V's, but the other part of the pattern is spot on.
It's interesting. It's, when you want to look at these things, there's interesting websites that'll show you the comparisons between the two. So it can be fascinating to look into counterfeiting. But apparently, we've talked about how China over the years has gotten better and better at manufacturing. The manufacturing quality that's coming out of China has improved quite a bit in the last 30 years. Certainly more so in the last 10 of those 30 years. And they're better than ever now, and that's being acknowledged in a major way by Alibaba founder Jack Ma. Now, for those of you not familiar with Alibaba, they kind of made a splash, I think it was last year, maybe it was late last year, when they went public. They had their IPO, initial public offering, where people could buy in and buy stock.
And didn't they have one of the largest, if not the largest, IPO ever?
I believe they did. And they
billions of dollars?
Something like that. And they've become bigger than Amazon. So Amazon isn't the world's largest retailer anymore. It's Alibaba Group.
Yes.
And I had heard about Alibaba Group prior to the IPO just by virtue of looking for products online and had found some stuff there.
That was almost 2 years ago. Was September of 2014.
Okay, wow.
And it was the largest IPO ever.
Do you have the numbers?
I have, part of the article pulled up just from the search, and I think it says that they were hoping to raise $25 billion. And again, without actually clicking on the article to see what they raised. But that's still a lot of money.
Right, yeah. I didn't realize when I was going to this website how big they were. I just thought, this is a pretty comprehensive site. There's a lot of stuff here. They sell a lot of wholesale level product, so you can buy all kinds of different things through the Alibaba Group. And they also have a Alibaba Express site, which is more targeted towards the consumer. So you can buy smaller amounts of things rather than having to buy, a whole pallet full or 1,000 products or something like that. Anyway, the story here from Financial Times is as follows. Many counterfeit goods are now of better quality than the genuine articles, according to Alibaba founder Jack Ma. He said this in comments that are set to infuriate luxury goods makers who accuse the Chinese e-commerce group of profiting from the sale of knockoffs. Quote, "We have to protect intellectual property." Now, they put that in parentheses, the intellectual property, which means the editor is telling you that's what he meant when he said something like it, for instance. Right. We have to protect intellectual property. We have to do everything to stop the fake products. But OEMs, which stands for Original Equipment Manufacturer, are making better products at a better price, unquote, said Mr. Ma, referring to original equipment manufacturers that typically make products for branded sellers. The problem is the fake products today, he said, are of better quality and better price than the real names. He said this during a speech at the Alibaba headquarters in Hangzhou, China, saying further, quote, "They are exactly the same factories, exactly the same raw materials, but they do not use the same names," unquote. The remarks were an apparent response to the longstanding criticism that Alibaba has tolerated the sale of counterfeit goods on platforms such as Taobao. Mr. Ma called on brands to accept that the, quote, "way of doing business has been changed," unquote, by the internet, creating new opportunities for Chinese factories that have traditionally supplied the likes of Apple and Louis Vuitton. LVMH, the luxury group controlled by Bernard Arnault and Kering, the Paris-based luxury group that includes brands such as Gucci, Bottega Veneta, and Saint Laurent, both declined to comment on Mr. Ma's remarks. But the founder of one Italian luxury goods company said, quote, "I am stunned by his comments," unquote. He declined to be named. Now, the reason why these guys who are running these luxury manufacturers are stunned by this is because you're not supposed to say nice things about the counterfeiters. If you're in business as a legitimate business person, you're breaking the kind of the unspoken code. The thing is, this guy's so big, he can get away with saying this. Apparently, I mean, I believe him on this. I think what he's saying is probably the truth. Why else would he go out there and risk his reputation by backing up the counterfeiters and saying, hey, yeah, that fake Louis Vuitton bag is actually a higher quality product than the actual Louis Vuitton bag, and it costs one fraction, a hundredth or a tenth of the price. That's what's making these guys angry, is because somebody with the level of reputation that this guy has as the largest retailer on the face of the planet right now, to acknowledge the quality that is being generated by these counterfeiters is highly insulting to people who have, are charging way too much for their products.
Right, and also these people that are charging way too much for their products, they want to try to maintain their brand.
Right.
So which
you have to believe is the highest quality in order to justify paying for that brand.
Well, I don't think that's why people who are buying products like that. I mean,
well, some of them might because of the name.
I mean, people are at that point. I mean, if you're dropping some of these
$1,000 on a purse,
if you're dropping a K or more on a purse, you're buying status, is what you're doing. So the quality is not entirely irrelevant, but
you expect I get what you're saying, but to some extent, if you're going to drop $1,000 on a purse, you ought to expect decent quality too, right? Well, you don't want something that's going to fall apart next year.
Right, but you can get something high quality for, way less than that.
Absolutely.
Right.
You can also get something high quality that has the same logo on it if you know where to go and buy it.
And I don't think that the consumers are necessarily being defrauded, because if you're like, oh, I want, a Louis Vuitton bag, where should I get that? Oh, I know, Amazon. Okay, no, you know that it's not, quote, real. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're buying the logo, and that's a weird IP violation, which isn't even a real thing. Although, is it fraud? But it's harmful to the companies, because now the company doesn't. And I mean, it's not even necessarily harmful to the companies, because Or these people who are buying, spending $200 or $300 on something with a retail list of, $2,000, would they have dropped to the $2K? Most of them probably
would
wouldn't.
not.
So you're not even necessarily harming the companies.
I think you're right about that.
Right, but the companies are trying to persuade legislators that is happening. That's why these things like CISPA and SOPA, luckily they failed in the Senate and the House over the past several years, but I have heard, and I've not actually read TPP, but I've heard that a lot of the stuff that was in those things have been incorporated into TPP to try to, protect intellectual property and prevent counterfeits from coming into the country.
Let's continue here. Maybe you've got experience buying or selling counterfeit products. You want to talk to us about it? We'd love to hear from you. Plus, we'll talk more about what the Alibaba CEO had to say here in moments. 855-450-FREE.
I'm Governor Gary Johnson. I'll be on the ballot for president in all 50 states. If a Democrat is elected president, if a Republican is elected president, in 4 years, we will still be at war. America will be 4 years deeper in debt. We will have 4 more years of rising taxes, bigger government, crony capitalism instead of free markets, and less freedom. How do we know this? Because that's what both parties keep delivering. If you're an optimist, you know that one day America will have its act together. One day we won't be at war. One day taxes will be fair. One day our social and economic challenges will be conquered, not by force, but by cooperation and mutual respect. To the independent majority of Americans who feel as I do, I say, why wait one more day?
Our best America yet. Johnson Weld, 2016.
Paid for by Gary Johnson, 2016.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solark EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solark is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solark is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solark beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solark is energy insurance for your family.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything you want here. Toll-free numbers 855-450-FREE. We're talking about intellectual property, specifically knockoff products, counterfeit products, as some people would call them. And we'll continue that discussion here in a moment because according to the CEO of the Alibaba Group, counterfeit products are now better than they've ever been. In fact, he says some of them are actually better than the official brand products that they're imitating. By the way, Liberland is no imitation. That's something that is being planned right now. A bunch of libertarians have sunk a flag into the ground, so to speak, of a swampland between Croatia and Serbia, 3 square mile plot of land. They're calling it Liberland. It was not claimed by either Serbia or Croatia, so now it is claimed as Liberland. 7 Polish legislators have recently proposed official recognition of the libertarian micronation, and the Chicago Journal of International Law has released a 35-page essay that makes the case for statehood for Liberland. Roger Ver, the owner of Bitcoin.com, is stated his support and his financial support for Liberland, plus the basis of the economy is expected to be cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. Nearly 500,000 people have registered on their website. More than 100,000 of those are requesting citizenship. So if you want to get in on this, if you want to be a citizen of Liberland, you do have to substantially contribute to the growth of Liberland. So get started, learn more over at liberland.org. Liberland, liberland.org. It is Ian, Melanie, and Daryl in the studio here tonight. We're talking about fake products. Now, Daryl, did you actually buy the Polex watch, or were you just kind of joking about that?
I was just joking. I would never buy a watch that presumes to be... I don't even wear a watch.
Yeah, why would you need a watch?
Some people are getting back into it. I mean, like, there's now the smartwatch
That's
things.
just wasteful, though. Like, Ademo was posting on Facebook earlier today about how wasteful that is. And
to have a watch, you mean?
Yes, and I agree.
Okay, and I'm going to summon my inner Brian Sovereign here, and Stallion, if you're listening, hopefully I do you well. He talks about how stupid these smartwatches are because it's not a standalone device.
Correct.
Oh, yeah,
you
those
have
are
to
even more
connect
stupid.
it via Bluetooth to your cell phone, so you still have to carry around a cell phone and this smartwatch, and then you can't really do most of the stuff on the watch. So what he says he's waiting for is the cell phone that is the size of a watch that is functional as
a full-on
standalone smartwatch.
The tricky thing is like the screen's so small, you can only really do so much with it,
Yeah,
right?
or you could just pull your phone out of your pocket and don't be that lazy.
Well, some people really like these smartwatches, and I guess there are some reasons to like it. What those are, I'm not really sure.
Right, but let's just say that you do have, a fully functional phone, and I'm using that in quotes, that's the size of a large watch. You don't need to have the keyboard built onto it. You can have that the laser projected keyboard thing. So then, it maximizes the screen size, and you don't have to worry about, my keyboard's taking up the entire screen.
Yeah, but if you don't have anything to project the laser onto, then what?
It could project onto
your arm?
forearm. I've actually seen that.
That's a thing?
That is a thing.
Well, I got to agree with you. I don't think that having the smartwatch is a good way to spend money. I mean, because you got to charge your watch every night too, right? So, like, this watch that I've had since I was a kid, I don't wear a watch, and I haven't since cell phones came out.
And when you were a
still
kid,
have
it
the
made
remote
sense
control
to have
watch?
a watch? When I was a kid, it made sense to have a watch, but
sure,
it
in the
doesn't
80s or the
anymore.
90s or whatever.
Do you still have the remote control watch or
I
the
never
calculator
had that.
watch?
No, I never had one of those.
Okay.
I just had just a regular watch. But that thing's still running, man. I mean, it's never had the battery changed in it in forever, 2-3 decades. I don't even know how long it's been since I've had the thing. I think I've still got it sitting in a drawer over there somewhere just because it's still running, and it's amazing. These new smartwatches, you got to charge those every night. I mean, what a pain to take off,
We're designing
charge.
new products to keep you from having to pull your phone out of your pockets. That is absurd.
Yeah, pretty soon we're going to wind up with, and I don't know if either one of you watch Futurama, but the actual iPhone, spelled EYE, where they shove this thing inside of your eye socket. That is going to be the phone.
It's coming.
There's a few pieces of technology that we probably just shouldn't develop until after we abolish the state, and I think that implants are one of them. Or at least non-medical implants.
You don't want to be taken over, have your mind controlled by the state. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, not necessarily that, but they can do other bad things with it.
Let's go to the phones, to the fun. Tom's in Baltimore. You're on Free Talk Live. Hey, Tom.
Hey, guys. Hey. I had a question for you about intellectual property, but I did look up the New Hampshire law relative to deferred and suspended sentences, and it appears that they're commingling the words expungement and annulment. In Maryland, for instance, an expungement would be literally destroying the records from every agency that you had contact with relative to a crime that maybe you put an Alford plea in for, or what might be an Alford plea, by the way, is similar to a no contest where you would be technically convicted, but it would be suspended and you'd be on probation for maybe a year or two. And if you were good, then they throw everything out. Okay. So those are special circumstances. But in New Hampshire, like I said, they commingle this annulment with expungement. So what they're doing is keeping the conviction record with law enforcement. And it states specifically so that they can determine an applicant's fitness for employment as a law enforcement officer. So it appears that they've dealt with this maybe before or had prepared for it. So they're keeping these records basically with law enforcement and government so that they can communicate with other law enforcement agencies.
Right, but the annulment means that no one else can see the record except for certain people in law enforcement.
The general public would not be able to, but courts, law enforcement agencies, law enforcement officers, and if they ever got in trouble in the future, they would be able to use that against them.
Gotcha.
So it's not really an expungement. It's kind of halfway there, maybe. So I just thought you'd be interested in that. My question about intellectual property, I don't know if you followed the Thomas Deegan case in West Virginia.
Doesn't ring a bell. What is it?
What a mess. He was convicted of making terroristic threats on a YouTube conference call. And the way they put this case together was horrible. I can't believe they didn't throw it out.
What does terrorist threats have to do with intellectual property?
I expect he's going to get to that point. Go ahead.
Well, he made an argument, and I thought you guys would know because you have a YouTube channel, that they didn't get permission from the owner of the YouTube channel to use his YouTube video. That was their main evidence.
In the prosecution?
Yes.
You wouldn't need permission for that.
Yeah, no, the IP does not apply to that.
Yeah, that's they're not trying to make money off of it. That's I don't know what the word is for it.
Fair use.
It would be fair use, but fair use isn't even relevant. It's a criminal prosecution. They can use it.
Absolutely. Hey, it's the state, Tom. You know they grant themselves special exceptions.
You can check out the case. It's absolutely deplorable. I think you'd be shocked at what went on in that courtroom.
One more time. What was the case name? What was the the defendant?
Thomas Deegan, Deegan. And you can look it up on YouTube.
Thank you, Tom, for the call tonight. Always appreciate it. This is Free Talk Live. More on intellectual property coming up.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX or my website, danpilla.com.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
If you're looking for work, the person you are applying to is probably so swamped with applicants that he or she is tough to reach. So call early in the day, before 8 a.m., before the palace guards arrive. You'll need your prospect's direct number, and here's a sneaky way to get it. Suppose the company's main number is 555-5000. You should call 555-5012. When someone says, "Good morning, Pam Johnson," you should innocently say, "Oops, somebody here must have written this down wrong. I was calling for Tom Frederick. What's his direct number?" If the very next thing you hear isn't Pam giving you Tom's number, it may be, "Good morning, Tom Frederick." For more tips for job seekers and getting better results in all your day-to-day communication, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Monday, gold is up $4 at $1,321 per ounce, and silver is about even at $18.68 per ounce. Bitcoin is currently trading at $574 US. Roberts & Roberts Brokerage have been helping customers buying and selling precious metals for nearly 40 years. To find out how we can help you, give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
It's if I'm watching not a cable, just regular news, and they give me the news, and the next flash is two people fornicating, okay? And then every other word is F-U, a B-I-C, a hoe, and all this stuff, and penis. Do you think I need to say that? That's not acceptable no matter what. You're saying free airwaves. For anything goes for anybody.
For public access, yes. That's exactly its purpose. That's the purpose of it.
Why not?
Do you want a red light in front of a cop?
Probably not in front of a cop because he'd hurt
What's
me.
the same difference if you're going to have that kind of FU and seeing two people fornicating after they just said the weather is 92 degrees and 5 inches of
Wait, I think you're a little confused about something
No,
here.
I'm not confused.
Point of information.
You're trying to confuse people.
Let's clarify
free
then.
Airwaves are free within limits.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want. We're talking about intellectual property, specifically in the area of knockoff products, products that are made to look like the real deal, but in point of fact aren't. However, as the CEO of the Alibaba Group is pointing out, nowadays these knockoff products are actually starting to get better than the originals that they're trying to imitate. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Melanie.
And Daryl.
Also, something that is not a knockoff would be Monero. Now, we've talked a lot about cryptocurrencies on Free Talk Live. Monero, something that I looked into like a year ago, and ultimately I chose not to get any. And it's too bad, because now they've quadrupled in price within the last 2 weeks. And why did this anonymous cryptocurrency quadruple in price? Well, apparently it was recently implemented by two of the largest online marketplaces Alphabay, and Oasis. Now, these are, I believe, darknet marketplaces, by the way.
They are.
And the reason why they would have implemented Monero is because it is a cryptocurrency that's built from scratch to focus on privacy and anonymity. So this is not apparently a Bitcoin ripoff, if you will.
Right. It's not. I think what the technical term for these things that are built based on the Bitcoin code
is an
are
altcoin?
technically forks of the Bitcoin protocol.
Right, forks of the protocol, but not necessarily of the blockchain itself. So unlike Dash, by the way, Monero does not use masternodes that can be controlled or hijacked by governments. Monero says they're completely anonymous and they're open source. You can check it if you know the programming to be able to look at that. It's also untraceable with built-in mixing at the protocol level. Monero is fungible, and unlike Bitcoin, it can't be blacklisted by exchanges. And it, again, has quadrupled in value just recently. This coming Sunday, we're going to be interviewing Riccardo Spagni, the head developer for Monero. So if you've got questions for Riccardo, get them ready, because we're going to have him on the Sunday edition of Free Talk Live coming up this week. You can learn more at getmonero.com.
And Monero is also very easy to mine. I'm actually mining it right now on my laptop.
Getmonero.com is where you can go to learn more about that. It was interesting to me when I first came across it, because I was looking to see, well, what are the anonymous cryptocurrencies out there? And this was one of them. It's nice to see that it's getting some popularity now. People are starting to pay attention to it. And, of course, it's thanks to the darknet marketplaces that is happening. We'll keep you up to date as we continue here. We're going back to the phones and the fun. Parker is on the line. He's in Washington State via Skype. Hello, Parker.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
So, one thing that I kind of have been thinking about asking you guys about is every now and then on Facebook, I'll see these people that say that, like, the Holocaust never happened, or this or that, or like it was some sort of Jewish plot. Well, there's obviously plenty of evidence to prove that the Holocaust did happen.
Yes, there were people who were there.
Well, and there's also physical evidence of
Right.
it, too.
But the fact that people were there and you can talk to them, that also helps.
So the question is, like, why do these people believe that the Holocaust never happened?
Because they're crazy.
I mean, why do people believe the world's flat? There's a bunch of crazy people out there. Not to mention, racists who want to believe that Hitler was some sort of good guy.
Right. So beyond that, like, what kind of damage are these people doing to the liberty movement, and like to what extent?
How many of them are the liberty movement? I don't know. I mean, personally, I don't know them.
I've never even heard of Holocaust deniers in the liberty movement.
They must exist. I mean, there are libertarians who are racists.
Oh, yeah.
Because you
there
don't.
definitely is that.
I mean, I don't want to hang out with racists, but
I would say that there are racists who claim to be libertarians.
That's a good point. But you can be. Look, the only requirement to be a libertarian is that you reject aggression.
Right.
So
you can hate somebody and hate them for a stupid reason and not initiate force against them
Correct.
or advocate it. You're still probably a bad person, but you can be both.
That's why there are some people that would say, well, they have fewer rights. I'm not going to initiate aggression, but they have fewer rights.
Well, I haven't heard
that would make you not an anarchist.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very libertarian. But if you are
It's like that's like authoritarian.
Yeah, I mean, most libertarians, look, to be a libertarian, all you have to do is agree with the non-aggression principle, which says that you won't advocate or initiate the use of force to achieve political or social goals.
Right.
Which is why I say the non-aggression principle isn't good enough. We need to have higher standards for the people that we associate with, for the people that we consider our friends and associates. And so the non-aggression principle is just like the most basic level of how humans should interact. Then there's also like you should be kind to people and loving and peaceful and all kinds of other
I wouldn't say it's not good enough. It's completely perfect for what it does. It's not a
But it's not good enough for me.
Right. But it's not a life
I'm with
philosophy. It
Melanie.
doesn't claim to be.
Well, there's one thing that I'd like to kind of bring up, which is related, which is that I was having this discussion with some people on Facebook last night, where I posted this thing on anarchism, and the post reads, because it's a meme. The term anarchy is a humble term. It means without rulers. It does not mean blow things up or sow disorder. Anarchism is a political philosophy that champions the individual and decries the monarchy. Anarchy is the triumphant concept that people should live unobstructed by laws and rulers, but instead be consumed with love and kindness. And for whatever reason, I had 2 people over the last 2 days berating me about it and basically saying, "Oh,
Wait a minute. You're not talking about people. You're talking about people on the internet."
Right.
Right. These people are too cowardly to come out in real life and actually talk about these things because, they should be hiding in the shadows. They should be hiding behind their keyboards and only posting to Facebook. So, I mean, look, just because somebody's trolling you on Facebook doesn't even mean they necessarily believe that.
Well, and I do kind of disagree with that statement because that's not what anarchy is. That is what a good way to live is. Anarchy is just the nap.
The non-aggression principle?
Anarchy is just
anarchy is the lack of rulers. That's what anarchy is.
Well, I mean, you're both correct.
Anarchy is not necessarily the non-aggression principle. Anarchy is the lack of rulers. It says nothing else. Anarchy is a statement about what should not exist. It is not a statement about what should exist.
Right. If you're initiating for, and this kind of goes back to or I guess it doesn't go back to it because if I haven't said it on the radio yet, but at what point does just anybody initiating force become a government? I don't think that there's an objective line you can draw there. If you're initiating force, I don't see how you're objectively different than a state. You might be a really small state. You might be a really inefficient state. So if you're initiating force, you are a government.
Yeah, where do you draw the line?
Not anarchy. I don't.
How many people? I mean, how many people does it take to have a
most people draw the line at recognition by another entity recognized as a government.
Okay, so then which one is not a state? Palestine or Israel? Is one of those things not a government? I mean, there's no. And if somebody can bring me objective criteria, I'd really like to hear it because I have not been able to have anybody answer that. And so, if you don't believe in non-initiation of force, then whenever somebody initiates force, that is a state, so you believe in some form of state, even if you don't believe in organized, efficient states.
I
think that anarchy has to be the non-aggression principle.
I want to live in one of these towns where the mayor is a cat. Because that would basically be like an anarchist sort of thing in practice, right?
I've never heard of a real one of those. There's a town in Alaska where they have a honorary mayorship giving to a cat. They do.
There's one in Japan too. Though. There's the Tamakat, I believe.
They actually have a city council.
They have some form of government. It's not
right, but the mayor is a cat, and I would love to just live in that sort of community because it seems like a lot of live and let live sort of stuff.
Thanks, Parker. Appreciate it. I mean, I get your kind of long explained definition of anarchy, but the short version is no rulers. Which is why I support voluntarism and voluntarism, because that's a statement about what should exist, which is that all human interactions should be consensual. This is Free Talk Live. You can join us here. Take control.
All right, listen up, because this is the most important thing you're going to hear all day. What if I said you could make money flipping houses without any cash, credit, or manual labor? And what if I said you could do it part-time from the comfort of your home? Sound unflippin' believable? Hi, I'm Preston Neely, and I'm going to prove it by sending you a free copy of my smash hit selling book, How to Get Rich in Real Estate. It sells online for $19.95, but I'm giving away free copies this week. To get one before they're gone, call 1-800-960-4295. I used to be so broke, I had my electricity shut off 9 times, but I figured out a simple way to make money flipping houses without even breaking a sweat. Now I'm living the good life, and so should you. Listen, if you're sick and tired of stressing about money, this book could change your life. Hands down, it's the fastest, easiest way to get started in real estate. Let me prove it. Call right now to find out how to get your free book. When they're gone, they're gone. Call 1-800-960-4295. 1-800-960-4295.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom106.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom106.com. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom106.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com. For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Tipping. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin tip returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card Bitcoin tip that's easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets and spending, and returns to the tipper if unused. Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever you want. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Joining you in studio, it's Ian,
Melanie,
and Daryl.
In the beginning of this hour, we started to discuss the story from the Financial Times about Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, which is a very, very big company that has bested Amazon in worldwide sales of various different products. They have wholesale deals for people and also just sort of individual sales. It's a big, big site, and there's a lot of stuff that you can get on there. I've purchased a few things through Alibaba. I do not hold stock in the company. This isn't me, trying to pitch Alibaba. This is a noteworthy story because the CEO of the biggest retailer in the world is publicly acknowledging, while on one hand saying we've got to protect intellectual property and stop fake products, on the other hand saying, well, some of those fake products are actually pretty darn good, in point of fact, better quality than the product that they're trying to rip off.
Well, I mean, he does have some financial incentive to say that. Although my guess would be that is probably an accurate statement. He's selling the fake products.
Well, he's been accused. Well, he's saying he's not going to, or like trying to crack down on it, but at the same time, he has been accused of not really doing that on his platform. And the Alibaba thing is so huge. I mean, if you've ever been to their site, it's so expansive. I don't see how they could even know what is being sold on Alibaba. There's just so many different vendors and sellers selling there. I don't know how it even really works behind the scenes with, how a business gets in there and sets up. I've heard that you can, if you know what to look for, you can find things like cocaine being sold on Alibaba. Now, I've never been able to find it personally, but that's what I've heard.
Well, I mean, and that's probably true, and that's probably also true of Amazon, even though it's not allowed, and if somebody was to report it, it would probably get removed.
Taken down, sure.
But, I mean, he has to know, like, for something like that, I mean, I'm sure he knows that he's selling it.
So let's see here. Story from FinancialTimes.com. I'm going to jump back in here where the luxury sellers of brands like Louis Vuitton, for instance, are really upset about this. Many of them won't even comment about the story, but one founder of an Italian luxury goods company who declined to be named said, quote, "I am stunned by his comments." Last year, the Kering company launched a lawsuit against the Chinese e-commerce group, alleging that it encouraged and profited from the sale of knockoffs on its platforms. In May, Alibaba was suspended from the International Anti-Counterfeiting Coalition, a watchdog for the retail industry, over similar concerns about knockoffs. Mr. Ma also delivered another message to Western luxury brands that have suffered a fall-off in demand in China, that Chinese manufacturers are growing impatient with a global division of labor in which they make high-quality goods only to see much of the money pocketed by the brand owners. Instead, Chinese producers were looking for ways to make their own products and sell them directly to consumers using the internet for marketing, he said. Quote, "It's the way of doing business has changed for the brands. It's not the fake products, it's not the IP that is destroying them. It's the new business model that's revolutionized the whole world," he said. Chinese regulators have periodically probed Alibaba's counterfeit problems, but Mr. Ma said he was confident the company's economic importance insulated it from severe treatment. He says you can't stop Alibaba for 2 hours, otherwise it's going to be a disaster for China. You can stop Tencent for 2 days, and you can stop Baidu for 2 weeks, and everything will still be okay, he said, referring to his two closest competitors. In April of 2015, Alibaba launched a program to help Chinese factories develop their own brands dubbed, Zhongguozhao, or Quality Made in China, in an effort to discourage them from producing counterfeits. Following Mr. Ma's speech on Tuesday, Alibaba released a further statement by the company's founder saying his remarks were not intended as a defense of the counterfeiters. Quote, "This is simply my observation of the issues facing brands and original equipment manufacturers. Counterfeiting is not a quality problem. Counterfeiting is an intellectual property problem." But in the past, you would have been told that counterfeiting is a quality problem. The people who manufacture the luxury brands would tell you that those counterfeit products aren't as good as our brand. Look, yes, our product costs 10 times as much, but you get this lifetime warranty with it. You don't get the lifetime warranty from the product that you get at the flea market that looks like ours but actually isn't. That product is likely to fall apart after just a few months because it's made shoddily and it is only made to look like our product. What he's saying here is saying that, look, that's not true anymore of a lot of these counterfeits. It's probably true of some of them. You still have a range of manufacturing quality that comes out of China, but there's a high-end manufacturing quality that can come out of that country these days.
Well, you've got a range of manufacturing quality that comes out of everywhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, China is a whole country, so I mean, that's not...
It's a humongous country, yeah. But I mean, the fact that he's acknowledging that is what's insulting these other companies, because you're not supposed to say that.
Right.
Well, I mean, and it's like that's kind of like an obvious statement anyway. Like, you can only make a handbag so good. Like,
that's true.
If it lasts 80 years and you buy it when you're born, which is kind of impossible, like that.
Or you could have it handed down.
But that's like the best it can be. Like, if it lasts 1,000 years, that's not really an improvement in quality. Like, you're not going to use that ever.
Right.
Like, it can only be so good.
But one thing that, a lot of the high-end connoisseurs, if you will look for are the little things that most people never pick up on. I forget, it might be Louis Vuitton, it might be something else, but they never have the logo go through the middle of a seam, or they never have the seam go through part of the logo.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as, the stitching, it's going to be the same on the knockoff as it is on the high-end thing. But, the knockoff, you can tell this is a knockoff because, see this seam? It goes straight through the middle of that logo.
But that's the thing. You really got to know what to look for these days, too, to figure it out.
And most people honestly don't care.
Well,
why would you?
Right. Mr. Ma's comments came as his New York-listed group said it expected 2017 revenues to grow 48% year-on-year, buoyed by recent acquisitions of video site Youku Tudou and Asian e-commerce business Lazada. Alibaba added it expected to nearly double transaction volumes to more than $900 billion by 2020. Mr. Ma said he expected Alibaba to become the fifth largest global economy after Japan by the year 2020, measured in the company's total transaction volume. Now, those are predictions, and they may or may not come true. But nonetheless, they're statements about how successful and how economically healthy the company is today. And it's just an amazing success story. Now, I got to say, I have bought a knockoff product or two on the Alibaba site. I was looking for a two-way radio and was looking for a specific model number of a two-way radio. Here in New Hampshire, we have activists who have two-way radios. It makes it easy to communicate with one another. We were using them at the New Hampshire Hemp Fest over the weekend. We were using the handheld two-way radios, which are the Baofeng radios. The one that I was looking for was a mobile two-way radio, one that you install in your vehicle. So a little higher quality, more expensive price. So like the handheld radios we use are like $25 brand new. They're cheap, and they're made in China. The one that I was looking for is a Yaesu brand, which is I don't know where they're officially manufactured, but it's a kind of a big brand name in the radio business. And I was searching for the specific model number because I'd had one previously and I wanted to get another one, or for a friend or something like that. And I found on the Alibaba site a Yaesu. They use the word Yaesu, but then nearby that, next to the model number, it said 100% same. I thought that sounds interesting. Oh, the price is a little bit cheaper than the normal Yaesu price is. I clicked on it, looked down the story. I mean, it looks like a Yaesu. The box says Yaesu on it, but it says like 100% same. Basically, it tells you a little bit more about it, that it's the exact same parts. So basically, the company that I believe is manufacturing the Yaesu products, whatever it is that Yaesu's using over in China, if that's what's going on here, is actually manufacturing their own version of this and then selling it directly to consumers, or as directly as they can, through the Alibaba site. Because why else would it say 100% same? That's an indicator that you are buying a knockoff product.
Yes.
And so that, I figured, all right, well, okay, if it's 100% the same, then it shouldn't really be as likely, or it shouldn't be any more likely to, let's say, catch fire as some other, because one of the concerns with a knockoff product is you're not going through UL certification or whatever, Underwriters Laboratories, and it doesn't have the same level of testing. These are some of the scary stories that the official equipment manufacturers will tell you in order to get you to buy the name brand. It's like, well, it could do something bad. Well, not if it's the exact same product made in the exact same facility by the exact same company. Now, I'm not saying that's what this is. Maybe they took the Yaesu, reverse engineered it, figured out exactly what parts were in there, ordered those same parts from whatever manufacturers, and then put together their own versions.
Right.
But either way, there's been no problem with that radio in the years since I bought it. So I don't feel bad because of that. Should I?
I wouldn't.
Toll-free number tonight's 855-450-FREE. Thing is, I don't remember which one was which. If you told me, you need to give that product back, I'd be like, which one is it? I have no idea.
It's the one that says Magnet
Box. It sounds
Box.
like it's the same product. It just didn't go through the ownership of a company.
I don't know.
That sounds like to me. I don't know that.
855-450-FREE. You can join us here. Hour 3's coming up. Free Talk Live.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Well, tipping might be a great way. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card-sized Bitcoin tip that is easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets, spending, and returns to the user if unused? Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live shows 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Monday, August 29th, 2016. Silver is trading at $18.59 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,319 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $579. Antiwar.com reports, while all the same doubts about being able to take the massive city of Mosul away from a substantial the Islamic State defensive force are still in place, the constant push for tiny swaths of land by both the Iraqi military and the Kurdish Peshmerga has many believing that the push into the city itself is close. Whether that's actually the case or not, however, remains to be seen, and with the Iraqi government having recently sacked their defense minister adds dramatically to the idea that there simply is not the organization on the ground to carry out a protracted siege so far from their supply lines. A much bigger factor driving both sides to keep pushing into areas on the outskirts of Mosul is that the borders of Iraqi Kurdistan are very malleable, and Kurdish leaders make no bones about the idea that villages north of Mosul that they are taking over aren't just being liberated from the Islamic State, they're being effectively annexed into Kurdistan. This virtually obliges the Iraqi military to keep pushing into the area too, unprepared or not, to try to sack some strategically important targets for themselves, just to keep some of the valuable parts of Iraq's oil industry inside Iraq, since the reality is that anything annexed by Kurdistan may ultimately be lost to Kurdish secession as soon as the war ends. Since the U.S. occupation, the Iraqi government has had to face the reality that Kurdistan could try to secede at any moment. Throughout the war against the Islamic State, Kurdistan has just been growing, making this a bigger and bigger concern. Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? Then you need Spendabit in your arsenal, the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spendabit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Visit spendabit.co today. Bitcoin merchants, ask about our merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.co. UPI reports a bus with an unlicensed driver spun out of control near New Orleans on Sunday, killing 2 people and injuring 41 while taking volunteers to help with flood relief in Louisiana. Spencer Chauvin, St. John the Baptist Fire District Chief, was among those killed in the early morning crash after the chartered bus slammed into him as he was trying to help victims of another accident, according to Louisiana State Police spokeswoman Melissa Mady. 2 other firefighters were injured in the crash, one critically, and a passenger in another vehicle struck by the bus died at the scene, according to the spokeswoman. Mady said the driver, who was unauthorized to drive a commercial vehicle, was in custody and would be booked on suspicion of negligent homicide, reckless driving, and driving without a license. Mady said the firefighters and state police troopers were on the scene to investigate when the bus, also out of control, slammed into the fire truck and a Toyota Camry. A passenger in the Camry was pronounced dead at the scene. The incident started when a speeding pickup truck spun out of control, bouncing from one side of the road to the other before coming to rest along the right lane and shoulder of Interstate 10 near the community of La Place, about 25 miles northwest of New Orleans. The Acadian Ambulance Service said on Twitter it had taken 38 people to hospitals and that a second ambulance company had transported 3 to a hospital. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports Native Americans from reservations across the United States joined the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's protest against an 1,100-mile, $3.8 billion four-state oil pipeline. Opponents of the pipeline say it could disturb sacred sites and impact drinking water for 8,000 tribal members and millions further downstream. The protest began August 10th when ground was broken near the reservation. 15 people from the Kialagi tribal town in Oklahoma were taking supplies to the protesters. One protester told Tulsa Media, "We just want to be there to support their tribe." Food and water was collected for those sleeping in tents and teepees. Protesters and their supporters are concerned that if the pipeline were to leak, it could contaminate their drinking water and force people to move from their lands. Representatives from Amnesty International have arrived to monitor the response of law enforcement to the protesters. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
From 1941, when an amoeba became the first single-celled organism to play professional baseball, to 1794, when Thomas Jefferson more than likely did something historically significant. The Onion looks back at This Week in History. On May 25, 1925, Tennessee teacher John T. Scopes was formally indicted for teaching the theory of evolution in a public school after a monkey called to the stand failed to turn into a human.
Sir, you have been on the witness stand for a full 3 hours now. And in this time, we haven't seen you lose any of your hair or shed your tail. Can you at least articulate a single justifiable reason why Mr. Darwin's theory should even be mentioned in our nation's classrooms?
And on May 27, 1995, actor Christopher Reeve came in last place in a horseback riding event.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here in the third hour of this live edition, which every edition is live because we're live 7 nights a week. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Melanie.
And Daryl.
Join us online anytime over at freetalklive.com. Get interactive there. All of the features on the site are free, so you can go back for years worth of archives, get it all for free, get interactive with other listeners in various different ways. You can create the content right there on the front page of the website. So go there, free, it's on us, freetalklive.com. We're going to go right to your calls and thoughts. We can talk about Libertarian presidential candidate Gary Johnson coming up here in a few moments and his vice presidential candidate William Weld. They are ruining libertarianism, according to some, and Daryl has that story. But first, we go to Greg in Brooklyn, New York. You're on Free Talk Live. Hey, Greg.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Welcome, sir. You're on the air. Go ahead.
I'm actually a big fan of Gary Johnson and Bill Weld. And
Sorry.
I actually am happy that they're giving this sort of more statist flavor of libertarianism because at least they're electable. But I actually wanted to bring up...
Electable how?
Well, I think somebody who just is very principled and says that there should be no government is probably not a very good candidate to run for government because most people would have to vote for him. And
so somebody that's polling at 8% is more electable than somebody that is polling at, say, 1.5% or 2%? Because that's really what we're talking about. If you look at the polls, Gary Johnson is averaging about 8%.
Yes.
Had I been the Libertarian Party nominee...
You would also be averaging at 8%, I bet you.
I would be averaging somewhere between 8% and 1%. Jill Stein, the Green Party nominee, is averaging about 4%. So are you saying that Gary Johnson is more electable than Jill Stein because he's got double the polling numbers that she does, even though it's well under the number to win anything?
Polling numbers can change overnight. I hope he gets 15 so he gets into the debate.
I hope he doesn't.
That should make it interesting.
You hope he doesn't get into the debates?
Yes.
I got to agree with you because I don't think he's doing liberty any favors.
He's harming it. And when I understand that Facebook is not like a scientific poll, but talking to people on Facebook and talking to people in real life who are not anarchists, they look at him and they think that that's libertarianism because he's up there saying, I'm a libertarian, and no, you're not, Gary.
He also doesn't know how to properly define libertarian.
Right, and he said he does not understand the NAP. Somebody who,
the non-aggression principle.
He's worse than Austin Peterson on that, as far as I'm concerned, because at least
Austin Peterson was a competitor, as was
Yes.
Darrell for the seat that Gary Johnson was elected to, which is the presidential candidate. Go ahead, Greg.
Sure. Anyway, I hear you guys. I have always been, I consider myself a civil libertarian and a consequentialist. So obviously I'm a little different than a lot of people who are more principled. And that's what I wanted to ask about. If you are against government in principle, right? If you're against the state, the way I always say it is, look, a state has a government, but cities also have government. Neighborhoods can have a neighborhood watch. Co-ops can have a management team. Corporations can have a board of directors. Everything's being run by some sort of centralized way. There are some employee-owned corporations, and of course, you can have some democratic ways to run things. But at the end of the day, each organization has to be run somehow. And so my question is, if you're against the state governments, by what principle are you not against city governments or governments of a co-op?
when we say state, we're using that synonymous with government.
With coercive government. So we're not opposed to, there's a co-op here in Keene.
The food co-op.
The food co-op. I'm not opposed to that because it, doesn't steal money from people. And
they don't come and stick a gun in your
people,
face.
And it doesn't say that they're doing things, quote unquote, for my freedom while restricting my freedom. If I had $200 that I wanted to put into the co-op, I could become a member of said co-op, and then I would have a say in how it works, and I would make sure that they do not go around, shooting people or threatening to shoot people if they don't shop there. Now, the city of Keene will take people's houses if they don't pay the property tax. I'm against that because it's based on coercion.
Hold on a second. If you move into a co-op and it has a no pets policy, just because you have one vote doesn't mean you can change that
I'm not planning on moving into the food store.
Right. But my point is, just like you can change your where you live and your neighborhood, it's harder. There's more switching costs, but you can change your country. You can change your city as well. You can get off of Facebook and go to Google+.
Right, but the United States government, nor the city of Keene, nor the state of New Hampshire owns the house that I live in, so they have no right to tell me how to live in it.
Well, there's an argument that they do actually own the house.
They claim that they do because try not paying the property tax, they'll kick you out.
Well, yes, they will steal it, but they don't own it. I have no contract with them. I never joined them.
Hold on, Greg. Let me make a point. Sure. You said that I could very easily move to a foreign country, but that presumes that I would consent to the existence of whatever horrible government exists in that country as well. I was told as a little kid this lie that governments exist with the consent of the governed. I don't consent to any of them existing, so why do you think that you can tell me that I need to leave the territory of the country that you support?
No, I'm making an analogy. Let me make the analogy clear. If you go work for Verizon, right, you don't have a say in how Verizon is run. You're just a cog in the machine. But you have to have a job somewhere, and nobody owes you a corporation that does exactly what you want, gives you full liberty to do anything you want with your day.
You don't have to have a job. That's where you're wrong already. I mean, you can do your own thing. You can be an entrepreneur if you've got the freedom and the government's not standing in the way and putting a gun in your face and stopping you from doing it. You can do, well, anyone could if they wanted to, but the government usually stands in their way and tells them, oh, well, you can't start your own business because you haven't paid us first. Oh, nope, sorry, you can't start your own business. We're all out of licenses to give out to you.
You can't grow your own food because you're in an area that's deemed residential, and growing food is a farm, and so therefore you can't do it. You can't be off the grid because we have determined that unless you're plugged into the power source that you are camping, and therefore we'll throw you in jail unless you hook up to the power grid.
There are a lot of there are a lot of crazy things, just like my building says I can't get Verizon because I don't have a deal with them, and I can only get Time Warner.
What? Does your building say you can't get Verizon, or does Verizon say we're not going to service this building? Because those are two different things.
If I wanted to bring something to my apartment that the building does not allow, they will simply kick me out, or they will sanction me in some way. If I have a pet, they will sanction me. It's
Right, because
also,
you're on someone else's property.
Correct.
And you
So what
signed
I'm
it.
trying to
You
say-
signed a contract with them, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's different than somebody coming in, some third party coming in and saying, "Hey, I'm the state of John Smith, and I decided here's my rules for living in your apartment that I don't own, and if you don't follow them, I'm going to lock you in a cage and/or rob you." Those are two different things.
Hold on. So if an immigrant signs an immigration paper, takes an oath, would that be a contract, at least for the immigrant?
I don't think it is, because in order for
It's
it to
coerced.
be in order for it to be a valid contract, they have to, like, the United States would have to be trading something with them. The United States doesn't validly own anything or even validly exist, so they have nothing that they can trade with.
Well, all they're trading is we're not going to shoot you.
Right. So yeah. So if somebody
Yeah.
mugs you and says, "Give me your wallet, or I'm going to shoot you," and you give them your wallet, that's not a valid contract. That is a robbery. So if the United States says, "Agree to XYZ rules, or I'm going to throw you in a cage, physically remove you to some other piece of the earth, or do some other thing to you," that's not a valid contract either, because they don't.
No, I hear you. Of course, that's not a valid. What I'm trying to say is this: there's no monopoly of force in the countries of the world. That you can go from a country to a country. On a smaller level, you could go.
No, you can't. You can't just go from a country to a country. You have to ask permission first from
Yeah,
the
like you
mommy
can't
government.
just leave the United States. You know that, right?
I tried to go to Canada last year, and they told me if I try to go back, I'm going to get charged with a felony
for the next 10 years.
Well, right. And beyond that, like, you can't just leave the United States and say that I'm not a citizen anymore, I'm leaving. You can't do that. You have to pay them to do that.
Hold that thought, Greg.
You have
I
to
couldn't
pay
hear
them
what
a
you
lot of money.
I couldn't hear what you were saying there, so hold on. We're going to bring you back and continue this. This is interesting because, you guys have never talked to Greg before. I've heard his arguments before, so it's interesting listening to you guys discuss this with him. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can take control of the airwaves. Bring up whatever's on your mind. This is Free Talk Live.
People who can afford a LASIK procedure sure are lucky. Imagine being able to throw away your contacts and glasses. Imagine waking up tomorrow with 20/20 vision. Too bad everyone can't afford LASIK. Well, guess what? There's a company that agrees with you. TLC Laser Eye Centers is now offering great prices on high-quality LASIK to make it affordable for everyone. That means you get the latest FDA-approved all-laser LASIK technology for less than what others charge. And if you call right now, we'll schedule a free appointment so you can discover if LASIK is right for you. Results may vary. Call 1-800-929-5733. Even better, if you're one of the first 100 callers, ask about an extra $400 off your all-laser LASIK procedure. That's $200 off per eye. We've already performed over 2 million procedures. Let us help you. Discover how you can get the quality LASIK experience you deserve for less than what others charge. For your free appointment, call 1-800-929-5733. 1-800-929-5733.
Are you happy washing your hands with harsh chemicals? Are you happy doing laundry with detergents? Are you happy paying high prices? Find your happiness with Pure Soap. These all-natural, earth-friendly Pure Soaps are the very best you've ever used. Buy in bulk. Get a 12, 36, or 48-month supply. Or get items individually and still save big. You're getting soap products twice as good as what you're using now. Earth-friendly and natural soaps. Your family deserves the best. Happiness is 5starsoap.com. Why not put your money up the drain for a change? See them at 5starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog. Cal Ben Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated. Soaps made from vegetable and coconut oils. See their full selection of soaps at 5starsoap.com. That's F-I-V-E starsoap.com. Or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog.
Okay, Nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu. 641-793-9660.
There's no better app for tracking the value of cryptocurrencies than CoinCap. I've had a lot of apps for tracking Bitcoin, but none that's ever been able to track 500 digital assets at once. Their best feature is the Altfolio. I love this thing. You enter how many Bitcoins, Ether, Dash, Doge, or whatever else you have, and it tells you how much your crypto is worth. You can watch yourself get rich. If you have crypto, go right now to coincap.io, or you can use the Apple Store or Google Play to get the app. I love CoinCap. coincap.io.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll free here. Bring up whatever's on your mind. Take control of the airwaves. With you in studio, Ian,
Melanie,
and Daryl.
We've got Skype. You can join us there. You'll sound almost like you're in the studio with us. Skype username is LRN.FM, or do it the old-fashioned way and call in toll-free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Bitcoin.com is your premier source for everything Bitcoin-related. You can get help buying Bitcoins, choosing a Bitcoin wallet, read the latest news, or engage with the community on the Bitcoin forum. You can also find places to spend that Bitcoin and play online games with the cryptocurrency. It's the source for all your Bitcoin needs and news, Bitcoin.com. As we go back to Greg calling from Brooklyn, New York. Greg, you're back on Free Talk Live. You were trying to explain an analogy, and I interrupted you because you said something that I disagreed with in it. So I wanted to give you another chance to get your thoughts out. Go ahead.
Sure. I'm always very happy to call into the show. I haven't called in a while. Basically, there's a central insight to what I'm saying. And if you get this insight, everything else will fall into place. You may not agree with it, but let's explore why. The insight is it's just a matter of scale. Let's look at the libertarian argument, the anarcho-capitalist argument, with buildings. Just for a second. If I want to move into a building, I can complain all I want about the no pets policy, or I can't have a washing machine, and I think it's ridiculous, or whatever. But I'm only one person. What I can do is I can choose which building to go to, and each building has to approve me. And if I misbehave inside the building or I don't pay rent, they can also take action. They can contract with police, whether they're private or whether they're state or whatever, to remove me from the apartment. Now, if you take that analogy and you realize that what you're saying about states, there is no monopoly. It's polycentric. You can move from state to state. It's harder, of course. Your family...
Hold on. Polycentric, Greg, means many centers, meaning that the governments are not tied to geography. What we have now are governments that are tied to geography.
Yes, but so are buildings, and so are cities, and so are... I can be in a corporate park, and this corporate park is administered by security personnel, and they can allow me to be there on certain terms. I can leave, but I can't tell them that, hey, guys, I could do anything I want. I can defecate on the street because I'm free. Nobody owes you a society that runs according to how you want it. You can only choose from the market of what states there are. That's my point.
Okay, but you also used a term in a completely incorrect manner, claiming that because Canada exists and Mexico exists, therefore North America is polycentric. Could not be further from the truth. Polycentric would mean that the United States of America exists where people want it to exist. That could be in North America, that could be not in North America, but my land and my geographic location does not then thrust me into some sort of government. And also
Right,
your example of the building is also flawed in that it only talks about people that are voluntarily moving somewhere. What about the child that is born into the building and told these are the rules for living in this building, and the child says, well, I don't want to live in this building because I don't like these rules. I would like the rules to be changed. And your comment is, well, every building has rules. Some are worse than others, so just suck it up, kid.
Correct. Do you think the building will let the kid live rent-free because his parents died and he was left in the apartment? Now he can live for free forever and do whatever he wants?
I'm not saying anybody should live rent-free. Your analogy of rent, I'm guessing the rent in your analogy is taxes. So if I don't like that the U.S. military kills people around the world, they've been funding the Saudis in their war in Yemen, where no less than 4 hospitals have been bombed so far this year. I don't want to pay for that, and you're alleging that that is somehow me living rent-free?
No, you should campaign to stop that, of course. And the military expenditures are out of control. But do you think that by not paying your taxes, your job moral duty is done? That you don't have to do anything?
No, I didn't say my moral duty is done. I also don't want the U.S. military going around the world and doing stuff. Horrible, horrible stuff. And I also don't fund it, so I'm doing things on multiple fronts, and people are only looking at one. So you're saying, oh, you think you're morally superior because you're not paying taxes. And then when I speak out against it, people tell me to sit down and shut up, that this is not the time and place. You speak out against it later.
No, this is great, but back to your analogy of the kid still has to pay rent. He can't say, because I don't agree with the building policies, I'm going to live rent-free, and you can't.
So you're alleging that I live rent-free in the United States because I don't pay for the U.S. military bombing people around the world. That's your analogy.
My analogy is that you have to live in some building, presumably somewhere. You have to live somewhere, and that will be a jurisdiction. You can choose which jurisdiction, but you can't.
That's not true.
Have ultimate control.
Why is that not true?
Because you can't. Well, A, any country isn't just going to accept you, and B, the United States is not going to let you leave unless you pay them off. Now, I mean, you might be able to get away with sneaking out.
That'd be like the building owner keeping you trapped inside the building unless you pay off the doorman.
If you said, I don't like the rules, I'm going to not live in this building, and then the building owner says, no, you're not, I'm sending armed guards to make you live here.
Further, let's get down, let's get to it here. The social contract. This is something that, we've discussed previously. With the building, you have an explicit lease agreement that is, is applying to you. You've agreed to it. There's specific terms in there. With the government, you have nothing like that. There is nothing that's specific about the government's terms with you. They can change the terms anytime they want to. Their rules are changeable at any time, and they expect you to jump through whatever hoops that they put up for you.
I had somebody tell me one time that my parents signed the social contract on my behalf when they got me the Socialist Security number.
Yeah, and further, there's no exchange of services. So with the rent that you pay to a building, you're getting certain services in return for that you're consenting to. I do not want the service of bombing people all around the globe. I don't consent to that, so I don't want any of the services of this particular federal government. I would just like to be left alone.
Correct, and many people don't want public schools because they don't have children. I understand.
I don't want public schools I don't want public schools even more when I do have children, because a public school is an indoctrination center for children to learn how to worship the state. I will hate public schools more when I do have kids, and I hate them now.
I don't like public schools either. I agree with you completely.
The only problem with what you're doing here, Greg, is because I get where you're coming from. The only issue here is that the difference is the coercion, right? The buildings aren't coercing, the governments do. And so what we would like to see is to see that end. you're right in that there are these people who control these plots of land, and they will do things to you if you don't do what they say. That's true. And so we are working towards changing that. We would all love to wake up in the world tomorrow and have those coercive governments be gone, but unfortunately those ideas are pretty persistent, and we're going to have to work very hard to educate people that they're bad ideas, that the idea of the state is a bad old idea and that it needs to go away. I appreciate your call tonight, and thank you for sharing your thoughts. So yeah, we need to change these things. That much is true. We need to have that plot of land where people can come to, where they will not have a coercive government forcing itself down their throats and pointing guns at them and threatening them and putting peaceful people into cages, which is why the idea of concentrating libertarians and voluntarists and liberty-loving anarchists into the same geographic area is the best idea to achieve liberty in our lifetime. It's not going to happen overnight, unfortunately. It may take decades, but we're working towards it. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
Lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Arcade City is a ride-sharing app built by drivers, not a mega corporation. As a driver with Arcade City, you can keep all of what you earn. Sign up now to drive for or ride with Arcade City at arcade.freetalklive.com. Arcade City is connecting drivers directly with riders and has been making headlines for disrupting the ride-sharing industry. Sign up now at arcade.freetalklive.com. That's arcade.freetalklive.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are 1. Share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Dial on in toll free to join us here. The number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Freedom's Phoenix is a liberty-oriented news aggregation site. If you want the newest and freshest stories and perspective on current events from those who value liberty, then check out freedomsphoenix.com. Their daily dispatch is the best way to stay up to date on science, technology, historical findings, liberty news, government overspending, and the rise of the police state. It's Freedoms with an S. Phoenix.com, freedomsphoenix.com. Ian, Melanie, and Daryl in the studio, and sadly, not in the studio with us, but over on the Seacoast is Derek J. Freeman calling on
Hey,
Skype.
guys.
Hey, Derek.
Hey, happy Monday. Oh, boy, do I have news. I got blocked from Facebook. And
oh, no.
It's going to be a 3-day ban this time.
What'd
And
you
I want to talk about why Facebook discriminates against and censors women, and I don't think it's right. You know, I post...
Oh, topless photo.
Yep, I went to Hampton Beach yesterday with some friends, and we played volleyball and took a walk, and you know, it was a great time out at the beach. And then everyone uploaded pictures of their events to Facebook the day of, and I got a bunch of likes and loves, you know, those hearts that people post on Facebook now.
I posted a love on one of the photos.
Cool. Well, you know, what's weird is Facebook informed me an hour ago that I'll be blocked for the next 3 days because someone didn't like one of the photos I posted. They said it contained nudity. I disagree. And I don't have any ability to challenge that. I'm just locked out. So I want to let people know that it's a good idea to have alternatives to Facebook. I'm blocked out from Messenger, so I know a lot of people use that to communicate. Fortunately, I've got Signal and Telegram, and I use other messenger apps. So I'm not at a loss, but if I didn't do those things, I might be. So I just want to put out a warning and also say shame on Facebook for considering a topless woman to be nudity, because men can be topless. I was in a topless photo with 3 guys and 1 woman.
And I'm looking. The funny thing is, I'm actually looking at the photo on Facebook right now.
Where?
On Derek J's profile.
Oh, so it's still there?
The photo is still there, but Derek has been blocked.
No. This is an interesting thing about the whole event, Daryl, because I posted this photo in 2 places. Now, I've posted this to freekeen.com. There's a whole article.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yep, there's a whole article explaining with screenshots, what happened and what I think happened. But I posted this photo in 2 places because I basically uploaded my whole day, both on the event page and publicly on my wall. My wall, it remains. No one on my friends list blocked that photo or said, I don't want to see this, or there contains nudity, flag this. But in the private event, somebody did. That photo is now gone. So I think it was unintentional, not malicious. But one thing people need to be aware of is if you flag something on Facebook like, I don't want to see this, it's going to ask you, well, why? Like, is it vulgar? Does it contain nudity? If you say it contains nudity, you may not know, but you could be getting that person blocked.
Right, yeah,
from Facebook
that is
for a few
reporting
days.
something. So if you want to just hide something, you have to say, it just annoys me, or I don't like it, or there's an option like that. In order to, because there might be things you want to not see and hide, and that's fine. But there's an option. I think it's the last one. It says like, I just don't like it. But if you give it like a legitimate reason, then that's reporting.
Yeah.
I don't know how somebody doesn't realize that, but I guess
I think someone accidentally reported
I believe
on
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to put that out as a warning too. Let people know, like, hey, if you don't like something, maybe just scroll past, or I don't know what to tell you to do, but don't get people blocked from Facebook. It's not the solution.
So you hit the beach for Go Topless Day on what was it, Hampton Beach?
Yeah. Well, I was at Hampton North Beach. They were down. There was a topless day at Hampton Beach, and there was more of a porcupine-centric event happening at a beach just north called Speedo Day. And it was kind of in solidarity. It was guys wearing Speedos, but there were some topless women. There was one woman who approached me while I was walking across the beach with my friend who was topless, and she said, hey, I heard there were going to be other topless women here, but I don't feel comfortable doing it by myself. Do you know where the other ones are? She was looking for some solidarity. She felt afraid to do it on her own, to be alone. Fortunately, our friend, had 3 friends with her, so she didn't feel as alone, but there were no other women joining with her. So, but I just feel like it's all the same skin. It's all the same. The photo, when you look at it from afar, you can't tell anything. It just looks like people standing on the beach, and who cares?
Yeah, and I kind of disagree with that to some extent. Obviously, initiation.
What part?
That it's the same.
How is it different?
Because men and women have different bodies and they have different parts.
We all have the same areolas and nipples.
Right, so human women have breasts and human men do not.
That's not true.
Some human men do. And
Some
this
human men do.
particular female, her breasts are not that large.
Okay, but female breasts are a secondary sex characteristic in humans. Now, no one should initiate force. No one should be arrested. It's unowned property. No one should do anything to anybody who, being undressed or underdressed is not initiation of force.
Well, what if they were removed? I mean, what if you had cancer and they were removed? So you're, exactly the same anatomically as a man. I mean,
we were discussing this last night.
These inspections on the beach. I mean, this is just getting ridiculous with the burqa people being arrested for wearing a burkini. I mean, just leave everyone alone. That's my.
Right,
that's
I agree with leave everyone alone. Unless and until someone owns the property, which is not the case. It's unowned because it's a public beach.
But what you're saying, Melanie, is the basis of the discrimination here. I mean, what you're saying is that you claim there's some difference between men and women in their breasts, and that, while you might be okay with people being naked on the beach, I'm not really sure about what your position is, but while you might be okay with it, the fact that you believe there is a difference is what many of the people who want the ban are using
but science
to justify
kind of agrees
it.
with that. Lots of other mammals the females only have breasts when they are I guess
they have the
breastfeeding
breasts all the time. Whether there's milk coming out of it or not is another question.
And technically, in New Hampshire, this particular female could have walked around completely naked, and it would be within the law, because the law says you are not allowed to expose your genitalia. Female genitalia is internal.
That's true. It would be interesting to see someone experiment with that. In fact, there was a couple of gay guys out here in Keene who were talking about actually having a I don't know if I should spill the beans on this, but I guess I'm already halfway through it. They were talking about exposing just the shaft of their unit and keeping the testes hidden. So like having a hole they could poke it out of, basically, and walking around like that.
Well, I mean, and this
because that would
be
done tastefully. I'm for it.
I don't know how you can do that tastefully.
I don't like the idea of any of this, but there's a lot of things that are not NAP violations that I don't like the idea of.
NAP is the non-aggression principle.
And so then that means people can do them. Just it doesn't matter that I don't like them.
Look, there are men who have bigger breasts than some women do. Yes. That's a fact. I've seen that happen. There are women with A-cup breasts, men with much larger than A-cup breasts. It's not about the size of the breasts. It's about the sexual repression that people in this country have from all the way back in the Puritan days that says that there's something wrong with a female breast that's right with a male breast.
Well, it's not even necessarily something wrong with it. I mean, it's something that, like, female breasts are sexual, and there is evolutionary...
That's your opinion.
And scientific... Well, it's this...
And we discussed this at length last night.
Say again, Derek.
The article's at the top of freekeene.com right now. I want to hear what you think. Weigh in.
Thanks for posting that, man. I appreciate it, and thanks for calling in tonight. And by the way, Derek J. still the host of Flaming Freedom on Thursday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on LRN.FM. Keep up the great work out there, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks. Woo!
See you, brother. It's Free Talk Live. More coming up.
I'm Governor Gary Johnson. Like 60% of you, I'm not impressed by the two-party system. It's a dinosaur. It's outmoded and no longer reflects today's America. Two-party politics doesn't work, and it hasn't worked for anybody but itself in decades. If we the people are wise, we will never again elect another president from within the entrenched, corrupt, co-opted two-party system. The office of president should serve the needs of everyone equally with respect and with fairness. I did it as governor, I'll do it as president. Google me. 60% of you have said you want another choice in 2016, and now you have one in me. We the people have a chance to do something in 2016 that may not come around again in our lifetimes. We have a legitimate chance to elect one of our own to the highest office in the land. Give me your vote one time and see what a difference one election can make.
Our best America yet. Johnson Weld, 2016.
Paid for by Gary Johnson, 2016.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solark EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solark is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solark is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solark beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solark is energy insurance for your family.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Monday, gold is up $4 at $1,321 per ounce, and silver is about even at $18.68 per ounce. Bitcoin is currently trading at $574 US. Roberts & Roberts Brokerage have been helping customers buying and selling precious metals for nearly 40 years. To find out how we can help you, give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Moments remain here. We have just enough time for your call and thoughts. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We also have Skype. It's Skype username LRN.FM. With you in studio tonight, it's Ian.
Melanie.
And Daryl.
So we were talking about the Go Topless event, which happened yesterday across the world, and including our Hampton Beach here in New Hampshire, where last year it was also a source of controversy when a couple of ladies were ticketed, not on Go Topless Day, but a couple of weeks later when they were on Guilford Beach for this, and ticketed for an illegal ordinance, which ultimately was they were successful in court. The judge ruled in their favor because in New Hampshire, there's no what's called home rule, meaning that a town cannot pass an ordinance against something unless they are authorized to do so by the state. Now, I got to say, I like that about New Hampshire. I think that, I don't like the idea of the state, but as long as we're going to have the idea of the state, it's easier to have it where the little states, the cities, can't go beyond the scope that they are allowed to by the larger state, in this case New Hampshire, which tends to be a more small government-y kind of place than most of the states out there. New Hampshire did win the #1 most free state designation by the Freedom of the 50 States study that came out 2 weeks ago. And so there's a reason for that. There's some things that they get right here that other states just don't get right. And so I was glad to see that happen. Also glad to hear that Go Topless Day was relatively uneventful in New Hampshire. There was no police threats. No police presence whatsoever, from what I understand. There wasn't really any heckler presence either this time around, whereas last time there apparently were a few hecklers.
I also don't think it was very well promoted this year.
There was news articles in advance. There were union leader, other newspapers had written stories that this was going to happen.
Yeah, and the police, to their credit, said that they had no intention of detaining, kidnapping, or robbing anyone for being topless, or specifically women for being topless.
Really?
I don't think the police used those exact words.
No, but that's what they said.
Well, that's good because they lost in court last year, and so that was probably a factor as to why they didn't do that.
And they shouldn't be robbing, detaining, obviously, or kidnapping anybody over that, because there is no victim.
But it sounds like you might be a little bit offended. I mean, is it something that upsets you to see topless people?
I'm not offended. It doesn't bother me. Although, like, I'm a straight female, so like seeing
what's that have to do with anything?
Because like it has no like specific. I don't know what the word like significance.
I'm a heterosexual male, but seeing Derek J and Steven walk around in Speedo, like I can appreciate they're both handsome guys.
Sure, very handsome.
Like I don't have to be like, oh yeah, I want to go snuggle up with them to appreciate that they're attractive guys walking around.
It doesn't offend me, like it doesn't necessarily bother me specifically, but I do think that it's like harmful to society. I would recommend, I would recommend reading 1984. I think has some pretty good insights on that.
1984 had the Anti-Sex League, not people walking around topless.
But they had the idea in 1984 was to disintegrate close relationships and specifically sexual relationships so that you would not be attached to anyone. Doing that, I think, accomplishes the same thing. You can go either way. You can prohibit it, which is difficult and costly, or you can just put it everywhere that it loses all meaning.
But the Anti-Sex League only applied to members of the party. Proletariats and animals are free.
Right, because they consider them lower beings.
Let me see if I'm understanding you. What you're saying is allowing people or just people going topless.
Well, no, I don't want to say allowing because then that implies
you don't want to disallow it. Right. But okay. But anyways, if you own private property, you might not necessarily allow this.
Right. If I owned private property, I would not allow nudity, and I would include.
What about men taking their shirts off? You would disallow that as well?
That to me would depend on the type of the property. If it was like, a dining hall, like everybody has to keep their
campground.
Okay, I would allow,
because we were at a campground this past weekend and there were both men and women walking around topless for the majority of the event.
So wait, you would allow men to be topless on a campground?
Yeah,
that you
because
owned?
that's not sexual.
Wait a minute, there are plenty of men and as well as women who would tell you that a topless, handsome man that's, ripped with a six-pack abs is absolutely sexual. Now, I agree with you. I don't believe toplessness is inherently sexual, but that's just my belief. I think that there are plenty of people who absolutely find a topless man to be sexy.
But there's support in science, in biology.
No. We're not talking about science here. We're talking about what people think and feel, right? You feel like it's sexual. I don't.
Okay, so hold on. Let me ask this question, because we did go over this last night. At what age does a female breast become a sexual thing?
When they start developing.
Okay. So if a female hits puberty at age 8 and starts developing breast at age 8, that makes her body sexual then?
An 8-year-old is not sexual, but okay, so you wouldn't have your 8-year-old bottomless either.
Well, wait, I think your question does presume that she would support children running around topless too. Or how do you feel about children being topless? Should they be allowed to be topless and adults no? Again, we're only talking about on your private property.
So female humans who have not yet developed breasts, that's not, because it's a secondary sex characteristic that emerges during puberty. If it hasn't emerged yet, then it's not there.
That didn't answer my question. Do you feel like they should?
Hold on. I think what she was saying is, if a 4-year-old girl were to run around in, say, a bikini bottom or pair of shorts and no top, that would be okay in your book?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, then I think your questions do apply.
So as long as, or once a mammary begins to develop, you got to put on a shirt?
Or some other form of top, yes.
So what if a woman has had a double mastectomy? Would she be allowed to walk around without a top?
Yes, because there's nothing there to cover up.
Okay, so what if a female who has hit puberty has smaller than an A cup?
No, because it's still there. Whether or not you or anyone else finds it appealing, whether or not it's, quote, big enough for anyone to like or dislike, it's there.
So what if a fat guy has breast tissue? Would he be allowed to walk around topless in your private camp?
Yes. Because breasts are not a secondary sex characteristic in human males.
Would all erogenous zones need to be covered up?
You'd have to be more specific.
The nape of the neck is an erogenous zone. The earlobe is an erogenous zone, meaning that they are probably tertiary sexual characteristics.
They're not inherently sexual, whereas female breasts are.
Inherent to who?
They are not
inherent to biology.
Inherent to you. Inherent to you. A lot of these things are sexual to other people.
Science articles.
You're using science as a crutch to justify your inconsistent beliefs on this one.
I don't think it's inconsistent.
Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts here. Jeremy's on the line in San Jose. You're on Free Talk Live, listening on our Facebook feed.
What's up, guys? By the way, on that last topic, I actually agree with the woman speaking. But anyways, I want to see what you guys think about what Colin Kaepernick did. So, he basically did not stand for the national anthem, and people are saying that it was not insulting to the military and police, but it's only because they've never served. I mean, anyone that has served this country in some capacity really, really values the flag. So, we don't care that Colin Kaepernick wasn't directing his actions towards us. All we care about is he disrespected the flag at the end of the day. And it's a bit disappointing to hear all the people in really the liberal media saying that, we should defend his right to speak, etc., which we do. We're not saying he shouldn't speak. We're just saying
hold on. Let me ask this question because we're short on time. Does Colin Kaepernick have the right to protest?
100%.
Does Colin Kaepernick have the right to hold an opinion that is not popular?
Absolutely.
Okay, then why are you upset that Colin Kaepernick holds an opinion that's not popular and acted in protest by remaining seated during the national anthem?
Because it's disrespectful. What he did.
Who cares about your damn flag? It's just a piece of cloth. I'll disrespect it all day long because it stands for violence.
And I agree with what he did, but to say that it's not disrespectful to the government and therefore government agents, I think, is kind of dishonest. It is definitely disrespectful to the government.
I intend to disrespect these people. They disrespect freedom. Screw those people. Yeah. Thanks for the call. We'll see you tomorrow night. freetalklive.com in the meantime.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit did your nerves spike. You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization? At Free Aid, we support volunteers who provide first aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. Free Aid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The Free Aid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same great prices, and LRN gets a cut. Please do your online shopping at shop.lrn.fm.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at LRN.FM. The Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM presents the latest episode of The Voluntary Life. Download it and listen to more at thevoluntarylife.com.
You're listening to The Voluntary Life, where you can hear ideas for finding freedom in an unfree world. Visit thevoluntarylife.com to connect with the show and hear all past episodes. Here's your host, Jake.
Hi everyone, it's Jake here. Welcome to The Voluntary Life. This week's episode is about entrepreneurship, and it's an interview that I gave earlier this year on a podcast called the Limit Breakers Podcast, and I'll put a link in the show notes to that podcast. In the interview, we talk about entrepreneurship, financial independence, my own background in business, and many other topics. So I hope you enjoy the interview, and thank you so much for listening.
Funaya Bernard here, and I'm super excited today because I have a special guest in the house. He's an extraordinary person, and I'm so glad that I could get him to come on the show today. Today we have Jake Dasilas. Let me tell you something about Jake. Jake Dasilas is an author, investor, entrepreneur, and podcaster. He writes about entrepreneurship, financial independence, and freedom. He's the host of the Voluntary Life podcast. In 2000, he founded Intelligent Space, an award-winning consultancy that led innovation in the field of pedestrian movement simulation and analysis. In 2010, he sold his business, quit the rat race, and retired early at the age of 38. He has a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a doctorate. He's a perpetual traveler, a minimalist, a productivity geek, an avid reader of philosophy and psychology, and a marathon inline skater. Wow, Jake. Seems to me like we're going to crush a lot of limits in the house today.
I hope so.
Yeah, so Jake, I'm so glad to have you on the show today. Welcome once again.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so Jake, I've given just a little overview of what you do. Can you please tell us more about what you do, fill in any gaps, something I didn't mention? Tell me your story.
Sure. Well, I think for your listeners, especially, the part of my story that's most relevant is that I was an entrepreneur and I started my own business back in 2000, and I worked very hard on that business until I got it to the point where I was able to sell it. And that was a long journey with a lot of mistakes made along the way that I learned from. But I got to the point where I was able to sell my business, which was a consultancy specializing in pedestrian movement, pedestrian flows. And we were advising shopping center developers and retailers and property developers on how to make their buildings and their centers and their streets better for pedestrians. And I was able to sell the business to a large multinational engineering company. So that was in 2007, and I stayed on with the multinational as a director for 3 years to integrate my business into their company. And then at the end of that period, I decided to quit and kind of become an early retiree in a way, but also focus on things that I'm really enthusiastic about now. I was always incredibly enthusiastic about making the world better for pedestrians in my work with Intelligent Space. And now I'm really focused on entrepreneurship as a way of making the world better and on the possibilities of using entrepreneurship to free yourself. But not just entrepreneurship, I'm also really interested in other ways of finding freedom in an unfree world and finding ways to live on your own terms. And so I wrote this book, Job Free, which is really about different ways of living a job-free life. Not just ways of starting your own business, but also ways of achieving financial independence so that you can actually live without needing to work if you don't want to. And that's the life that I live now. I travel the world with my wife, and we live in different places and experience different parts of the world. And we both work online writing, and she has a website, personal development website. So we're both able to be based wherever we like. So we're really pursuing, a life of travel and a life interested in doing the things that really matter to us.
Cool. That's a very interesting life right there. And I must say, I envy your lifestyle because you do whatever you want to do at your own time without having to work. So, Jake, I would love to know, how did you first come about this idea of having a life without having to work? When did this idea first cross your mind that this was the kind of lifestyle that you wanted to live?
Well, I had a very interesting conversation very early when I was a teenager with someone who became a kind of mentor to me. He was a very, very interesting guy. He had a very harsh background. He was adopted, and he had a very difficult childhood, but he was a very determined person who had got himself to become very successful in the City of London, London's financial center. And I was a teenager, and he was about 5 years older than me, so he was in his early 20s. And I learned a lot from him about entrepreneurship, and he became kind of a mentor to me. And I remember asking him what his goals in life were. And he told me that he intended to make his fortune. He wanted to become a millionaire, and then he was going to retire. And he was just going to do whatever he wanted to do. And he had a lot of belief in himself and his own abilities, but he thought that he could probably make more money than that and become a multimillionaire, but he didn't see the point. He just wanted to get to the point where he could make enough money to do whatever he wanted with his day. And for him at the time, he was very interested in philosophy and things like that too. That's actually how I got to know him. And his name is Peter. And Peter really taught me that idea that you could change course in your life, have a radical change of course, where if you are able to make it in a career or in your own business, then if you want to, you can design your own life so that you can actually have independence and do whatever you want afterwards. And that idea really stuck with me. And I did lots of things in my 20s, and I spent a lot of time studying, and I eventually did a PhD, but I never forgot about that idea of essentially quitting the rat race and becoming an early retiree. And funnily enough, my friend or my mentor, Peter, actually, he in the end, he did not do this. He became incredibly rich, but he carried on working and doing other things. And in a way, our paths diverged. You know, he went a different route to me and decided that he was more interested in continuing to be an entrepreneur. And he leads a very stressful life, I think. But I chose to follow his original idea, which was that when I got to the point where I was able to sell my business, I could have carried on working in the larger multinational company that bought my business. But I decided that there's a certain amount that you need to survive in life. And beyond that, it doesn't really make that much difference. The difference between not having a house and having a decent house is enormous. But the difference between having a decent house and having a mansion, it really doesn't make that much difference. You don't need so much stuff in order to be happy in life. And so for me, I realized that I actually don't need that much stuff at all. As you said in the introduction, I'm a minimalist. I have very few possessions. Everything that I own fits within one suitcase and one carry-on bag. And I'm happy to really focus on the things that matter to me, which is spending time with the people that I love, doing the things that interest